Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching first part of What If Sakura traveled back in time for Naruto. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
It was a cold, dark night that was unlike any other. It seemed as though the world had been overtaken by the darkness of evil. The distant lights were fueled by the fires of war. And although there were dim lights deep within the darkness, they were not lights of hope. There was a time when the village hidden in the leaves was the strongest ninja village in the whole shinobi world. This once powerful village had finally fallen this evening after 20 years of a bloody and barbaric conflict. Little drops of rain fell slowly. No amount of rain could save the village, which was now completely on fire. The streets were littered with the bodies of both defenders and invaders, and the rain that fell on them was red as blood. Sakura Namikaze was on her knees, panting, exhausted and injured in the middle of this battlefield. Her lungs were filled with the stench of blood and smoke. The last living Neo-Sanin member was in a very bad state. Sakura had to amputate her left arm to prevent herself from being consumed entirely by Madara's Amaterasu's black flames. She was aware that this was the end, and her only wish was that they would buy the kids enough time to leave the village safely. She gave her 15-year-old daughter Kushina instructions to lead her younger brother, the few surviving Konoha 11 children, not including the Uchiha bastard, and other bystanders away from the battle. When it became clear that the village would collapse, even the final 3 members of the renowned Konoha 11 were no match for Madara Uchiha, despite their best efforts. Madara was approaching, savoring his triumph as he moved slowly in her direction. Because of that damned Namikaze, he had taken far longer to reach this point than he had anticipated. Madara wished he could have killed him for destroying his Moon Eye scheme, but the bastard killed himself, depriving him of the joy he was going to kill his beloved wife in order to exact some retribution, after which he would track down the Namikaze's miserable children and finally get his revenge. Raindrops landed on Sakura's face, and she felt them. It appeared to her that the heavens themselves were crying as she gazed up at the night sky. The last refuge from Madara's rule and the last place where people could find hope was the Hidden Leaf village. Over the past 20 years, the former Akatsuki leader's innumerable hordes have overrun every ninja village. No matter how big or small, now that the Hidden Leaf was gone, he had really taken over the world. The spirit of the people would soon be crushed. Everything was lost without someone to give hope. My love, she thought, if only you were still here. He had sacrificed his life to prevent Madara from ever using the tailed beast for his Moon's Eye scheme, which is why he wasn't present. She and the others had fought for 10 long years to save the village for which he had sacrificed his life, and now it was gone. Now that no one was there to assist her, she was on her own. She turned to face her friends, the 2 remaining Konoha 11 members who had survived the war alongside her. With a hole the size of a fist through her chest, Hinata lay in a pool of her own blood. Sakura had grown to regard Hinata as a sister, particularly following Naruto's passing. The only person who had been able to relate to her and make them feel like family was Hinata, and now she was gone. Then she turned to face Shikamaru, or what remained of him. After pushing her aside, Shikamaru took full damage from Madara's Amaterasu, leaving behind nothing but a heap of black-flamed, charred bone. Now that Madara was directly in front of her, she knew it was the moment she was immobile. She would be killed by his next blow. He screamed, "Amaterasu," at her. Sakura closed her eyes and waited for the end to arrive as black flames shot at her. Her only thought was, "Naruto, I'm sorry." She waited for what felt like an eternity for the pain to take her, but nothing materialized. The wall of black flames was frozen just inches from her face when she opened her eyes, and she was astounded by what she saw. She noticed that everything was frozen. When she looked around in mid-fall, she could even see the raindrops frozen. What's going on? She asked herself, but as though to respond to her, a dazzling light burst forth, engulfing everything in its path. She wondered if she had passed away and this was the afterlife, since everything else had vanished from her view and all she could see was unending light. Then her name was said in a kind voice. "Sakura Namikaze. Who are you? And where in the world am I?" Sakura asked, surprisingly unfrightened by the gentle and kind tone of the voice. Then the voice said something. "I am known by many names by many beings. In many different places in your world I am known as Kami." Sakura's eyes widened in disbelief at what she had just heard. Kami continued speaking before she could respond. "As to where you are in my realm, a place between worlds. From this place I have watched your world since its creation. I have watched your people evolve into what they are now, and my heart weeps to see what you have become." Sakura's response was all silence, so Kami continued, "You had such potential to become great, yet you have engulfed your entire world in war. You have become a primitive and violent race that only knows how to hurt and kill each other. You bring nothing but pain and suffering to your world." At last Sakura said, "Not all of us are like that. There are those of us that only want to live in peace. We only fight to protect what we love." Kami spoke again in its warm voice. I know the difference between you and the ones you fight, but your fight is hopeless. The darkness that has grasped your world is too strong, you cannot win. Even though Sakura knew Kami was telling the truth, it still made her cry as tears streamed down her cheeks. She thought, if only he were still here, things would be different. If Naruto was still here, he would have stopped him, she replied. One person would not have made a difference. Even though Kami's tone was kind and gentle, Sakura was still hurt by what she said. Her statement, he would have made a difference, I know it, was genuinely true. Sakura was aware of Naruto's talent for making the impossibly possible. You really think that things would have been different if he hadn't died? Kami's voice inquired. Yes, I do. If he was here, he would have found a way to save everyone. Before Kami's voice could be heard again, there was a pause as though she was considering what she had said. I see. You truly believe what you say. Very well then, we shall see which one of us is correct. I will give you a gift. A chance to save your world. Remember, you only get one chance. Fail and your world shall fall into everlasting darkness. Sakura felt the warm light envelop her as Kami concluded her sentence, gradually lulling her into a sound sleep. When Sakura awoke from her slumber, she asked herself, where am I? She became aware that she was on a bed when a light struck her eyes. As she tries to remove the sleep from her eyes with her hands, she asks herself, why do I have covers on me? And how did I get here? She was holding both hands. That quickly roused her. She expected to see a hospital bed when she looked down, but the bed she was in wasn't one. Sakura was in bed with pink pillowcases, pink sheets, and pink covers. She started examining the space she was in. Sakura's gaze widened. The room she found herself in was the same one she had known all those years before. She asked herself, is this a dream? She started to recall everything that had transpired. She recalled everything that had transpired, including the leaf falling and her encounter with Kami. She had a chance to save her future as well as to alter her past. Sakura jumped out of bed and did what most women would do first. She turned to face the mirror. She exclaimed joyfully, I don't believe this. I'm really back, naturally. She then took a close look at herself and her face lit up with disgust. I'm back as a freaking child, she exclaimed, her voice angrily. Although it was easy to determine her age, she checked her calendar to be sure she was 12 years old, as it turned out, and today was team selection day. Sakura started searching for a tool to cut her hair. She smiled and thought, I have to look good for him. A voice shouted from downstairs, Sakura, you're going to be late to the academy if you don't hurry. When Sakura heard her mother's voice, she froze and tried frantically to hold back her happy tears. She told herself, easy Sakura, you can't cry every time you see someone. Saying goodbye to her mother and getting dressed, she left the house. Hey billboard brow. Sakura froze once more, her eyebrows twitching in rage. This time she was aware that she had only ever been called that by one person. Ino Yamanaka, her blonde childhood friend, was catching up to her when she turned around. Ino hurried up to join Sakura, saying, come on, we're going to be late. Sakura snarled, shut up Ino pig, and accelerated her pace in the direction of the academy. She hurried past her and screamed, what did you say, forehead? She grinned as she said, you heard me piggy. As they started to hurry to the academy, she thought to herself, I forgot how much fun this was. They both screamed simultaneously as they pushed their way into the classroom. Ha, I beat you. Ino remarked, no way, I was here first, forehead. Sakura said, please, I had to turn around to see you piggy. As they made their way to their seats, they started to argue. She saw him then. It was the future traitor Sasuke Uchiha. Sakura's blood boiled at the sight of that bastard, and she clenched her teeth and closed her fist in rage. To calm herself, she inhaled deeply. No, this isn't the same Sasuke. If I can save him too, it would make everyone's lives easier. She thought to herself. Sakura walked over to sit next to him, grunting as he turned away from her with a frustrated expression on his face. She smiled and said, hello Sasuke, how are you doing today? Her brow fluttered once more, but Ino spoke before she could shout at him. Before Sakura could reply, the other girls started vying for seats. What do you think you're doing, forehead? I'm sitting next to Sasuke. Everyone saw me come in before you, so get off my seat. At that moment, she saw a blur of orange pass by. He was the one. They were both glaring at one another as he crouched in front of Sasuke. She was incredulous that it was indeed him. That dreadful orange monstrosity was on him. Sakura recalled that if he didn't stop wearing so much orange, she would have to threaten to divorce him. She was engrossed in grinning at the memories when something interrupted her. Naruto was pushed forward by the boy seated in front of him, and the next thing she knew, Sasuke's lips were touching Naruto's. With the exception of Sakura and Hinata, every girl in the room suddenly had murderous intent. Naruto, we are going to kill you. The Uchiha fangirls cried out in unison. Sakura leapt in front of them before they could launch their assault and uttered. Several eyebrows went up when someone said, "Hey, it was an accident." Many believed Sakura would spearhead the assault. Sakura and Ino were about to argue when Iruka-sensei entered and instructed everyone to sit down. Following a succinct explanation of what to expect as genin, he started assigning individuals to teams until he reached Team 7. Team 7 will be Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno. Naruto then joyfully leapt to his feet and started cheering, while Sakura laughed at his antics. Then Iruka went on, and Sasuke Uchiha. This was followed by a loud thumping sound as Sasuke repeatedly slammed his head against his desk and loud, irate shouts from several of the girls, particularly Ino. Naruto abruptly got to his feet. "Ah, Iruka-sensei. Why does a great ninja like me have to be in a team with a slug like Sasuke?" said Naruto. "Because Naruto, Sasuke was the student with the best grades, while you were the student with the worst grades. You were put together to balance the teams out." Iruka's statement caused the majority of the class to laugh at Naruto's expense. When Sasuke said, "Just don't get in my way, loser," Naruto became enraged. Naruto shouted, "What do you say, Sasuke?" The Uchiha asked, "What hard of hearing too?" But Sakura told them to stop before Naruto could answer. The remaining teams were then identified and informed that their sensei would be meeting them shortly. Naturally, Sakura was aware that Kakashi would not arrive for at least another 2 hours. Only Team 7 was still waiting for their sensei in the classroom 2 hours later. Sasuke was simply gazing out the window while Sakura read a book on medical jutsu that she had borrowed from the library. Naruto decided to get a little revenge on their sensei because he was tired of waiting. Naruto returned to his seat after setting his trap, but he was grinning shortly after. Kakashi glanced at his new team and said, how should I say this? My first impression of you is, you're a bunch of idiots." In a bored tone, he had just finally poked his head in the classroom and been struck by the eraser. His words, "Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes, were followed by his disappearance in a whirlpool of leaves. Team 7 stood up and went to the roof to meet him. They all sat down once they were on the roof, and Kakashi spoke to them again. "Okay, to start, how about you introduce yourselves?" Then Sakura inquired, "Tell us about ourselves." With a bored tone, Kakashi replied, "Yes, things you like, things you hate, your dreams for the future, hobbies, things like that." "Sensei, why don't you go first?" Sakura asked with a smile. "May I introduce myself?" "Alright, Kakashi Hitaki is my name. I don't feel like telling you what I like and what I dislike. Future dreams. I never gave that much thought." Sakura grinned when her sensei responded, "Okay, now how about you on the left? You go?" Naruto and Sasuke both perspired at the pointless information. "I have lots of hobbies," he said, gesturing to Naruto. Excited, Naruto got to his feet and exclaimed, "I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I enjoy instant ramen, and the ramen that Iruka-sensei got me at the Ichiraku ramen shop is particularly good. You have to wait 3 minutes for the ramen to be ready, which I detest. Eating and comparing various kinds of ramen is one of my pastimes, and my dream for the future is to be the best Hokage ever." Sakura smiled adoringly at her future husband, but Kakashi's words jolted her out of her reverie. "So people will stop disrespecting me and treat me like I'm somebody important," he said, enthusiastically raising his hands in the air. "Okay, now it's your turn, Pinky." Sakura's eyebrow arched in rage, and she thought, "I hate it when people call me that." She then put on a smile that said, "If you call me that again, I'm going to kill you." Which gave Kakashi the strange impression that his life was suddenly in jeopardy. "My name is Sakura Haruno." She had nearly used her future last name, and she said, "Wow, that was close. I have to remember that I'm not a namikaze yet, and perverts," she said, glancing at Kakashi, who was whistling naively without glancing at her, "and people who judge others for something out of their control," she concluded with a melancholy tone, and both Kakashi and Naruto thought it was odd that she said it, but they remained silent. "And my dream is to be the world's best medic ninja, even greater than Tsunade of the Sannin, and to save my home and family, especially my husband." "Nin, a medic?" Before he said, "Okay, now you the emo kid," Kakashi thought. There was nothing in her files about her aspiring to be a medic. This caused Sakura and Naruto to laugh, and Sasuke to give Kakashi a death glare. "My name is Uchiha Sasuke," he remarked. "I don't really like anything and I hate a lot of things. Anyway, what did I ever see in that moron?" Sakura thought. "What I have is not a dream, because I will make it a reality, to kill a certain man and restore my clan." With a sigh, Kakashi thought, "Wonderful." To the surprise of Naruto and Sasuke, Kakashi got up and informed them about their test the next day. I have a hyperactive knucklehead with sensei's ramen addiction, an emo who only thinks about getting even, and a girl with an anger management problem. At least she's not a fangirl. Sakura said, "Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow then," as she hurried off the roof after Kakashi vanished. Sasuke left without a word, and Naruto followed, upset that he had missed the opportunity to ask Sakura out, so he decided to get some Ichiraku ramen to cheer himself up. Sakura was on her hands and knees in a training ground a few hours later. Whoa. I can recall all of my jutsu, but they are all ineffective because I have no chakra reserves. Sakura knew that if she wanted to make a difference, she needed to get stronger quickly. She got up and went home because she had a test to prepare for after all, and she smiled to herself because she had a plan and was certain that Kakashi was going to be surprised. Knowing Kakashi's test strategy, Sakura calmly walked to Training Ground 7 the next morning, carrying some lunchboxes she had prepared for her team, only to find Naruto and Sasuke there already. "You're late, Sakura. An hour ago, Kakashi-sensei told us to be here," Naruto uttered loudly. "Well, since sensei hasn't arrived yet, everything is okay, right?" In addition, she smiled and said, "I thought we could eat together before the test," while holding up the boxes for him to see. "I was late because I was making these boxed meals for us." A naive Naruto said, "But I thought sensei said that we shouldn't eat because, well, puke." Sakura was well aware of Kakashi's scheme and knew just how to manipulate Naruto to comply with her demands. She held up one of the boxes and gave Naruto the dreaded puppy eyes jutsu, saying in a cute voice, "But Naruto, I made this one just for you." Naruto's stomach made a loud growling sound as if to express its own thoughts. He took the box and said, "Well, I guess it couldn't hurt. Besides, an awesome ninja like me won't puke from whatever test sensei gives us," Sakura said, turning to face Sasuke. "Do you want the one I made for you as well?" After they finished their meals, Sakura sat next to Naruto and refused to carry out her plan, only receiving a grunt from him before he continued to ignore them both. "Hey Naruto, do you want to work together to pass this test? Since we are now a team, we ought to collaborate constantly, right?" Sakura knew that Sasuke wouldn't work with them, so she didn't bother to ask him, but Naruto couldn't believe what he was hearing. Sakura wanted to work with him, not the dumb Sasuke. "You know what, Sakura, I will," he shouted after giving him a smile. She inquired, "Are there any new moves I should be aware of?" Knowing the answer, she asked. "Yeah, I just learned a cool new jutsu called the Shadow Clone Jutsu. It's really cool because it lets me make clones that are real, not illusions," he proudly stated. "Really? Then, I believe I have a strategy that will enable us to pass any test Kakashi-sensei may have for us." She started explaining her strategy to him so they were prepared for Kakashi's arrival an hour later. "Hey, was that all Kakashi had to say before being cut off?" Together, Sakura and Naruto yelled, "You're late." "Well, you see, there was this black cat that crossed in front of me and I had to take the long way around." They both shouted, "Liar," once more, but he disregarded them. "All right, you will be tested today to determine your readiness to become Genin." Sakura and Naruto exchanged a smile, which confused Kakashi, and Sasuke simply looked angry while his stomach growled loudly. "After that you'll get an additional 2 hours, and if you fail to get a bell then you get sent back to the academy for another year," he said, shocking everyone except Sakura. "The test is simple, all you have to do is take one of these bells from me before noon and you pass," he said, pointing to the 2 bells fastened to his waist. "However, there are only 2 bells and 3 of us," Kakashi-sensei, Sakura inquired, aware of the cause. "That indicates that at least one of you will return to the academy, Sakura. Additionally, if none of you are able to get a bell, you could all be sent back." "Well, believe it or not, I will become Hokage one day, so I won't be sent back to the academy," with a proud gesture toward Kakashi, Naruto said. Kakashi's statement that the loudest are often the weakest infuriated Naruto, and before anyone could realize what had happened, Naruto charged at him with a drawn kunai, only to have Kakashi appear behind him, pointing to the back of Naruto's head with his own kunai still in his hand. "Calm down, I didn't even say go yet. Keep in mind that you won't have a chance if you approach me with the intention of killing if you want the bells. Now that said, get started," he shouted, and they all went into hiding. Well, most of them anyway, he thought, as Naruto stood in front of him with his arms folded across his chest. It seems they know how to hide themselves. "Let's go, you and I are standing here right now, fair and square," a confident Naruto yelled, and Kakashi said, perspiring, "You know, compared to the others, you're a little bit weird." "The only weird thing here is your haircut," was Naruto's irate statement as he charged at Kakashi. Naruto stopped when Kakashi's hand reached into his weapons pouch and he said, Shinobi Battle Techniques Number 1. Taijutsu, the physical art. Combat in taijutsu is hand-to-hand, so why is he pursuing a weapon? When Kakashi took out a small orange book and started reading it, Naruto was taken aback. Why are you holding back? Without glancing at Naruto, Kakashi said, make your move. You're reading that book, but why? A bewildered Naruto inquired. Why? Naturally, to see what happens in the story. In a tone that really infuriated Naruto, he said, don't let it bother you. With your weak attacks it doesn't matter if I'm reading or whatever. Weak assaults. I will crush you, Naruto shouted as he used taijutsu on Kakashi, who easily defeated him without ever looking up from his book. By the end, Kakashi was crouching behind Naruto, creating what looked like a tiger seal. As Kakashi got ready to attack, he said, you shouldn't let your enemies get behind you all the time. Does he have fire jutsu? From his hiding place, Sasuke thought, Humph serves the loser right. 1,000 years of death with leaf-style secret finger jutsu, screamed Kakashi as he poked his fingers up Naruto's butt, expecting to cause pain and humiliation. However, he was surprised when the Naruto in front of him despaired in a puff of smoke. A shadow clone? I've heard that he defeated Mizuki using this jutsu, but when did he switch? I didn't sense him use a replacement jutsu. Kakashi was too busy thinking to figure out what had happened when he was surrounded by a swirl of wind that looked like it was full of cherry blossoms. Sakura's voice, which seemed to come from nowhere in particular but from everywhere at once, was heard saying, Shinobi Battle Techniques Number 2, Genjutsu. Kakashi's eyes widened in shock as he realized what was happening, and he quickly put his hands together and made a hand seal. When he screamed, Kai, and released the Genjutsu, the illusion vanished instantly, but poor Kakashi was unaware that it was already too late and that he was about to suffer greatly. Sakura's fist was too close to avoid when the Genjutsu was dispelled, and Kakashi thought, well, they actually got a hit on me. The poor fool was more amused than concerned. And then Sakura's fist struck his face, sending him flying across the training field and into a crater. Kakashi's final thoughts before he lost his composure were, how on earth? Sakura and Naruto swiftly emerged beside the now unconscious Kakashi, and they each rang a bell. Sakura exclaimed, good job Naruto, we did it. Naruto simply grinned in response, but his true thought was, I better not piss off Sakura or she could really kill me if she hits me that hard. Their joy was short-lived, as a furious Sasuke landed next to them. I'm Uchiha, and I deserve that bell more than a loser with no talent like you, so give it to me. Bell loser, give it a shot, because I'm not returning to the academy. He yelled at Naruto, who simply turned to face Sakura, who merely grinned back at him. Oh, this is going to be fun, was all Sakura could think. Oog. I feel like I have a bigger hangover than when I had a drinking contest with Anko. Kakashi thought as he woke up, bewildered and suffering from a throbbing headache. Sakura gave a gleeful, nice of you to wake up sensei, before Kakashi realized he was tied to the post, with Sakura and Naruto sitting in front of him eating his lunch, and that someone was missing. Where is Sasuke now? He inquired. Look to your left, said a smirking Naruto, and Kakashi followed his instructions, only to be met with a very funny sight. Next to his post, a very pissed-off Sasuke was gagged and bound, wearing a paper crown with the words, Emo King, written on it. Although he could never admit it aloud, Kakashi found it hilarious and would have laughed if it weren't for his many years of experience as a Shin. All right, let me go now, please. Sakura approached Kakashi and reached for his mask without uttering a word. As she removed his mask, she said, wait, there's something I want to see first. So that's how you look without your mask? As she started to untie him, she said in a humorous tone, you know, sensei, if you stopped reading porn in public, you might actually find yourself a girlfriend. What were you anticipating? Did I have buck teeth or what? Ignoring the jab at his romantic life and favorite hobby, he said. After being released from the post, Kakashi went to untie Sasuke and inquired as he went. Why, then, is Sasuke restrained? Naruto replied to him with a smirk. Oh, the bastard tried to take my bell. When Kakashi heard that, he scowled under his mask but remained silent. After he had finished untying the furious Uchiha, he asked him. So, how did Naruto defeat you, Sasuke? The other members of Team 7 laughed at that, but Sasuke felt like it was adding salt to an already open wound. Sakura trapped me. He didn't. He gritted his teeth and growled in a genjutsu. Interesting, Kakashi thought. So which one of you wants to tell me the purpose of this test, he said. It's simple. Naruto nodded in agreement as Sakura stated, it's teamwork. There's no way that any of us could get a bell from you without using teamwork. He pointed to Sakura and Naruto and said, good, then both of you pass, and you fail. he said, gesturing to Sasuke in the hopes that they would pass this last section of the test. Kakashi thought, now let's see what they do. Sakura grinned proudly as Naruto remarked, what? Sakura just said that it's all about teamwork. Sasuke may be an arrogant asshole, but he's still part of this team. Under his mask, Kakashi grinned broadly as she said, that's right, we won't abandon our comrades, it's all of us or none of us. He couldn't have asked for a better team. Sakura laughed at his antics as he proudly exclaimed, well then I have only one thing to say to you, you pass. Remember one thing above all else I ever teach you. Those who break the rules are trash, but those that abandon their friends are worse than trash, he said, drawing admiring glances from both Sakura and Naruto. Sasuke, however, clearly thought Kakashi was a fool for believing that he vanished in a whirl of leaves, saying, I'll report your passing to the Hokage and remember to meet me here tomorrow morning for our first team mission. Sasuke simply scowled at his teammates before complaining and leaving Sakura and Naruto alone. Naruto gave Sakura a tense look. He chose to ask her since it was likely his best chance. He nervously said, hey Sakura, you want to do something with me later? In the hopes that she would eventually agree. She smiled and said, of course, come see me here in a few hours so we can train together. Naruto whined, but Sakura, I meant like go on a date. Sakura wanted to say yes so badly. The majority of her former life had been squandered on futile pursuit of that traitor. She only had Naruto for a few brief years before losing him after she finally came to the realization that he was the true love of her life. Sakura was aware that she couldn't be too easy on him, but she didn't want to waste any more time with him. Her words, maybe, gave him hope. How about I make you a deal? If you can go through the entire training I have planned, I will go on a date with you, she replied. At the top of his lungs, he yelled, yes. To the heavens he cheerfully said, I can handle anything you got. Sakura believed it, and departed before she had a change of heart. As she watched him leave, she thought, oh, we'll see about that, Naruto, you won't be able to move a finger when I'm done. Then, on her way home, she laughed at her scheme. When Kakashi arrived at the Hokage tower, the third Hokage was seated at his desk completing his paperwork. The one-eyed Jonin said, Lord Hokage, there's something I would like to talk to you about. The Hokage glanced up from his paperwork and saw that he had a serious expression in his visible eye and was not reading his book. The third person thought, that's never a good sign. He inquired, is this about Naruto's team? Kakashi said, nodding. Kakashi said, yes, they passed, but that's not what I want to talk about. I was wondering about Sakura Haruno, he added, after the Hokage gave him a perplexed look. I read the files on all three of my students and thought I knew what to expect. But Sakura was nothing like what I expected. When he noticed the third student was still perplexed, he clarified, saying, everything in her file pointed towards her being very smart but lacking in everything else. Her obsession with Sasuke Uchiha was also noted by a number of the academy's instructors. The Hokage nodded. Yes, when I gave Iruka the team list, he brought it up. Was she an issue, then? The third person inquired, assuming that Kakashi was interested in his team's girl. No, I wasn't surprised by her and Naruto's flawless teamwork. The Hokage was genuinely shocked when Kakashi said, she managed to place me in a powerful genjutsu in a matter of seconds. Genjutsu required advanced chakra control to be effective, and he had only heard of a mere genin placing a powerful genjutsu on a jonin. Once Kurenai discovered a peeping Tom watching the girl's side of the hot springs. Surprisingly, it wasn't Jiraiya at the time, and he put him in a genjutsu that made every woman he saw appear to be an overweight naked man. The Hokage asked, how strong would you rank the jutsu? Kakashi considered his response before responding. Genjutsu isn't my specialty, but I would say it was at least a B rank, possibly approaching an A rank. Kurenai would rank it more accurately than I would. The third person remarked, my, that is impressive. But that's not all. She gave me a single punch after I dispelled the jutsu, sending me flying across the training area. When I woke up, all of my injuries had healed. Even though I was certain I had felt my jaw break and at least had some bruised ribs, Kakashi said. The Hokage thought, that makes her sound like Tsunade. That's not it either. Sasuke was bound to the pole beside me when I awoke. Sakura put him in a genjutsu to protect Naruto after he attempted to take his bell, something that, based on their files, she would never do. The Hokage laughed as Kakashi remarked, I honestly expected a fangirl, not a miniature Tsunade. All of that sounds fascinating. But I don't believe there is anything to be concerned about, the Hokage said in a humorous tone, just keep me updated and we'll see how it goes. Kakashi thought to himself, that's easy for you to say, you're not the one that got punched in the face. Yes, Lord Hokage, he said, before vanishing in a whirl of leaves. Looks like your team will be one to keep an eye out for. Naruto, the Hokage thought, grinning as he looked out at his village through the window after getting up from his desk. Naruto was waiting for Sakura at the training ground, looking very excited. "Hey Sakura," he yelled before he could get a good look at her. "Wow, Sakura, you cut your hair." Sakura liked her hair long, but long hair isn't always the best choice for a ninja, so she kept it short until she had most of her strength back. "You look even prettier than before," he said. Blushing slightly, Sakura had cut her hair to the same size that she wore it after the first Chunin exams of her first life. She blushed as well and said, "Thank you, Naruto, I'm glad you like it. Are you ready to train now?" She smiled as she asked. "Believe it, Sakura, you're going on that date with me, so give me everything you have." Confident that he could handle any training she could think of, he said. Sakura simply grinned more and started taking things out of her pack, first removing what appeared to be 2 pairs of pink sweatbands and placing them beside her, then removing a pair of arm bracers and leg guards and throwing them at Naruto. She said to him, "Here, take these." Naruto grabbed them and started examining them with interest. "What are these?" He pointed to the various markings that had been made on the things that were given to him and asked. She put on her sweatbands and said, "Don't worry, I'll explain, just put them on for now." Sakura wore one on each wrist and one on each leg above her ankles, hiding them with her ninja sandals, while Naruto wore his on his shins and forearms, but you couldn't see them because they were all hidden by his orange jumpsuit. "All right, so why must I do these things?" He repeated his question. "Well, for one thing, I thought you could use some extra armor now that we are full-fledged ninja," she replied. "Why?" Sakura's eyebrow twitched slightly as she became irritated as he repeated the question like a small child. "For now, just put that out of your mind. All of the things I gave you had markings, don't you recall?" "The markings on these," she said, drawing her hand close to his face so he could see that her sweatbands also had markings. "The marks on these are seals like on explosive tags," she said, but Naruto interrupted. Naruto nodded, having noticed all the odd markings on them. "What?" As he frantically attempted to remove them, he screamed, "You mean these things are going to blow up?" Then she said, "Naruto," cracking her knuckles, which immediately caught his attention because he remembered what she had done to Kakashi and did not want to be struck in the head. "Let me finish before you start to freak out, okay?" she said in a falsely sweet voice, and Naruto simply nodded out of fear of upsetting her even more. With a sigh or relief from Naruto, she said, "I said they are like explosive tags, but they have different functions, so they are not going to blow up, okay? The seals on these have 2 different functions while the ones you have 3 different functions." She interrupted him, but he remained silent, saying, "I will tell you what they are. Both yours and mine have chakra storage seals on them. That is, you can store chakra into them that you can use later. The second function is a set of weight seals that work in tandem with the first. That may not seem very useful to a stamina freak like you, but for someone like me with a small chakra supply, it's very useful," she said. Naruto did not fully understand, but he chose to remain silent. "The seals increase in weight as you store more chakra. I added some protection seals to your so they can guard against weapons that normal leg guards and arm bracers could not," she said proudly, adding that you will benefit more from your physical training. "However, why am I unable to obtain small items like yours? What makes mine so large?" Naruto whined. She said in a frustrated tone, "Because I'm not the one with a tendency to rush at an enemy without thinking and getting myself hurt." Naruto pouted, but he remained silent because he knew she was correct. "I just don't want you to get hurt." "Okay Naruto. For me. Were they just okay? I worked very hard to make them for you," she said with compassion. "Sure thing, Sakura," Naruto said with a smile. "Wait, did you say you made these?" "Wow, that's incredible, I didn't know you could do that," he said, drawing back his sleeve to get a clear view of the elaborate patterns painted on the guards. "Well, being married to one of the greatest seal masters of all time for a few years does have its advantages," she thought to herself. "I guess you really are the smartest one of our class," he said, missing her blush, his praise. Although Naruto didn't seem persuaded, he didn't argue with her. "Okay, let's get started," she said. "Actually, Naruto, I think Shikamaru is the smartest one of us. He's just too lazy to show it right now." She warned him, "Be careful not to go overboard because you won't be able to release the chakra without the correct hand signs, which I won't give you till after our training session is over." Naruto was too eager to try it out, so naturally, when he did, the seals began to glow furiously for a longer time before they went back to normal, leaving an uncomfortable-looking Naruto. Sakura simply shook her head and smiled, because this was Naruto after all, and he wouldn't be himself if he didn't put everything he had into what he was doing. "All right, Sakura, what now?" he inquired. "You can create how many shadow clones?" she questioned him, and Naruto considered his response before responding. She grinned and said, well, if I really try, I can make maybe 100. Okay. Make as many as you can then, she said, pointing to a small army of orange-clad clones. Okay Naruto, she said, pointing to the real one, I want 10 of you to start reading these books and scrolls one brought and the rest of you split into 2 groups, she said in a commanding voice, and Naruto simply shrugged and followed her instructions. Okay, group 1 will work on the leaf exercise, she said, explaining that the exercise was to improve chakra control by holding a leaf on your forehead using only chakra. Group 2 will be working on tree climbing, she said, explaining that the exercise involved using only chakra to climb a tree. Once both groups were up and running, she joined Naruto for a strenuous workout. Since Sakura was exhausted herself, she decided to end the day when Naruto appeared to be ready to die 2 hours later. Okay, Naruto, I think we can stop for today, she said. She told the worn-out looking Naruto, go ahead and dispel your clones so we can get ready to go home. He uttered the words, thanked Kami, in between breaths, and then Naruto dispelled all of his clones, making him freeze. What was that? He put a hand on his head and said, a fountain of information flooded his head the moment he dispelled his clones. It wasn't particularly painful, but it was confusing to get all that information at once, especially when you didn't know how you got it in the first place. Sakura grinned and said, I see you finally notice why your shadow clones are so special. He gave her a perplexed look. I read that shadow clones are used for spying and infiltration missions because they can transmit all knowledge and experience to the original when they are dispelled. The words, I had no idea but that's awesome, came out of his mouth with a smile. Yes, for someone like you who has ridiculous amount of chakra it can be very useful, but remember they can only pass on knowledge. You can use them to practice jutsu and chakra control exercises, but any physical training you have to do yourself, she continued. He gave her a foxy grin that made her blush and said, that's okay. I like training but studying is boring, now I can do both. Sakura was so preoccupied with her own thoughts that she failed to see Naruto take off and drop one of his arm bracers when Sakura heard a crash and turned to see Naruto staring down at the tiny crater his bracer had created. She was snapped back to reality. She questioned him, what the hell Naruto? How much chakra did you use? Sakura became very irate when Naruto shrugged and said, I don't know a lot. I guess I thought that if I put a lot and make them weigh more then I'll get stronger faster. She resisted the impulse to strike him for being a fool. In a tone that made sure he understood it wasn't a request but an order that he had better follow or else he was in for a world of hurt, she reprimanded, that was stupid Naruto, you could really get hurt like that. Why don't you try steadily increasing the amount of chakra you use but only once your body has adjusted to the amount you have set, that way you won't be risking killing yourself, okay? She said. The words, yes ma'am, came out of his mouth in a tremulous tone. She then demonstrated to him how to release the chakra that had been stored in the seals, and they both packed their belongings and prepared to depart. So Sakura, since we finished training, do you want to go get ramen, you know, like a date? He nervously asked. He was aware that if he asked her that question, he might receive a severe reprimand and possibly a punch to the face. She grinned as she glanced at him. She put her hand under her chin and pretended to consider it as she said, well, we did have a deal. She smiled and said, okay. Sure, Naruto, I would love to go on a date with you. He jumped up and down in excitement and yelled, Yahoo, in response to the silence. Sakura laughed at him before saying, okay, calm down, take a shower, change, and come to my house in an hour. We're going to eat Shirakuzo, and since it's a date, you're paying. He didn't pay attention, and he was literally jumping with excitement as he headed home. After taking a shower, changing into a new jumpsuit, and heading to Sakura's house, Naruto decided it would be a good idea to buy her some flowers when he passed a flower shop. Regretfully for him, the flower shop he happened to enter was Yamanaka. Additionally, a certain blonde kunoichi just so happens to be at the shop right now. Ino was incredibly bored while at her parents' flower shop, thinking that she could be doing better things with her time, like shopping, or even better, attempting to get a date with Sasuke. When the bells rang to alert her that a customer had entered, she was pulled from her reverie. She was about to greet him when she realized it was Naruto who had entered. No way, what's Naruto of all people doing here? Probably thinks if he gets Forehead some flowers she'll go out with him. Hey, maybe I should help him a little? If I get really lucky maybe Forehead will go out with him and leave Sasuke for me. She was excitedly walking toward him. She pretended to be friendly when she said, hey Naruto, how's it going? Which really annoyed Naruto. He said tremblingly, oh hey Ino, I didn't know you worked here. He blushed before responding, but she asked, yeah, my parents own the shop. So are you getting Sakura some flowers? Of course you are. Anyway, why don't you let me pick something for you, okay? She replied after giving it some thought. Naruto decided to let Ino choose the flowers because he assumed she would know what to get because she was a girl and Sakura's friend. After a few minutes, Ino returned with a bouquet of flowers that looked intriguing. She joyfully said, "Here you go. Naruto, she will love these," but Naruto wasn't persuaded. He looked at the flowers and said, "Are you sure? They look weird to me." She pointed to some red flowers and said, "Look, Naruto, these are the flowers you want, see these." She kept explaining the bouquet until he was persuaded and she sent him off. "These are red tulips. They represent a declaration of love, and this one is a sunflower. It represents adoration," she said as he walked out of the store. She thought, "Good luck, Naruto, maybe for both of us." Sakura was waiting for Naruto outside her home. When he arrived he asked, "Hey Sakura, I'm not late, am I?" She was dressed in a clean version of the red dress she had worn earlier in the day. She pointed to the flowers and said, "No, I just thought I should wait outside for you. Are those for me?" Sakura only needed to glance at it once to realize that Ino must have made it. Ino had a unique taste that no one else could match. "Yeah, I got these for you," he said, passing them to her. They went to Ichiraku's after she returned inside and put the flowers in water, saying, "Thank you Naruto, they're beautiful." With joy, Naruto escorted Sakura to the tiny ramen stand, where he took his customary seat and Sakura took the one beside him. He called out to both ramen cooks, "Hey old man." Ayame and Tucci grinned at the blonde. "Naruto, I'm happy to see you. Boy, I haven't seen you all day, so I was starting to worry. How did your test go, then? Have you passed?" the ramen cook inquired. "Of course, I passed. Believe it, I'm one step closer to becoming Hokage." Naruto smiled at him. All three of them grinned at him as he said, punching his fist in the air. Ayame, who had never before seen Naruto accompany anyone other than Iruka or the Hokage, asked, "So who is your friend Naruto?" This is Sakura. That caused the cooks to exchange glances, which Sakura did not miss. "She is my new teammate I told you about." She smiled and said, "My name is Sakura Haruno. It's nice to meet you. Naruto is always talking about how amazing your ramen is, so I accepted his invitation to come," she said in an attempt to be friendly. Tucci smiled back, but Ayame didn't seem to be persuaded. Sakura thought to herself, "I forgot she is like Naruto's overprotective big sister." Ayame turned around and resumed his work after she said, "Yeah, Naruto has mentioned you too," in a tone that let Sakura know that whatever he said was not positive. Naruto said, "I want 3 bowls of pork ramen." Tucci went to place their orders after Sakura said, "And I will have 1 bowl of chicken ramen please," for herself. Naruto and Sakura left the stand after an hour and a few bowls of ramen, at least for Naruto. "That's the well-known Sakura Naruto frequently mentions, isn't it? She looks like a sweet young woman. Do you not believe that?" Tucci asked his scowling daughter. "That's precisely the reason I'm concerned. She is not behaving at all like what he claimed she was. Naruto likes her too much to notice what she might be up to. What if she intends to manipulate his emotions for amusement?" With a worried tone, she inquired. "Ayame, I don't believe that to be the case. You don't look at someone you don't care about the way she looks at him." He smiled warmly and said, "I don't know, they just look right for each other. When you look at them it's the same way your mother used to look at me, like that." He returned to his work, saying, "I think they'll be okay." As she drove the kitchen knife into the cutting board with such force that her father jumped, Ayame said, "They better be, because if she hurts Naruto, she's going to be sorry." She then returned to her work. When Naruto asked Sakura if he could show her a special location, Sakura knew exactly what it was, so she agreed. Sakura was correct about the location, and now she and Naruto were standing atop Hokage Mountain, saying, "This is my favorite place in the entire village. When I want to think and be by myself, I come here, or simply to the wonderful view of the village," he said. Since it was dark, they could see the entire village illuminated, which was a lovely sight. She told him, "Yeah, it's very beautiful up here." "Well, Sakura, did you enjoy our date?" he asked uneasily. "Yes, Naruto, I did. It was a pleasure to spend time with you," she said, and Naruto grinned broadly in response. "Does the fact that we went on a date imply that we are, like, boyfriend and girlfriend?" His voice was hopeful as he asked. "I waited a long time to see you. The last time I foolishly kept you waiting until it was nearly too late. This time, it will be different." Before responding to him, she told herself, "I will never leave you alone. I will always be by your side." She put her hands over her heart and said, "I need someone who will treat me with love and respect, someone I can trust with my life and my heart. Can you find the person for me? Let me ask you something before I answer you. Can you show me love, courage, and strength?" she asked, gazing into the person she loved cerulean blue eyes, and Naruto said, gazing into her stunning emerald green eyes, "I swear Sakura, if you let me be your boyfriend, I will be all those things for you." Sakura gave him a grin. "Are you serious?" Will you always be by my side? Do you swear that you won't ever abandon me? As she fought back the tears that threatened to spill, she said. I swear, Sakura, I won't ever abandon you. I swear to you that I will always be by your side, no matter what. Believe me, I never break my word, and I will make sure you keep that promise, my love, he said, taking hold of her hands, and I will make sure you keep that promise, my love, she thought as she released her hand and grasped his face with it. Sakura leaned forward and kissed him, and Naruto tensed in shock before kissing her back. A single tear of joy fell down Sakura's cheek at that moment, and she released their tender embrace after a short while. Well, I suppose the answer is yes, she nodded and smiled as he scratched the back of his head. We have a mission tomorrow, so let's head home now, she told him. Also, remember to wear your weights underneath your clothes for training and missions, but don't put too much chakra in them. He said, I won't, and they both began to walk home. Sakura turned back to the village as they were leaving, thinking, no matter what, I won't let you kill yourself first this time, and that's my promise of a lifetime, before heading home to rest. Sakura Haruno was very happy as she walked through the streets of the Hidden Leaf village. She was grinning broadly, and for good reason. We had a great time with Naruto last night. She had not revealed her identity, and she had regained her love. Sakura had thought about approaching the Hokage, but she genuinely didn't trust the elderly man to act morally. Most likely, he wouldn't believe her, or worse, he would want to bring it up with the council. Oh, that was a mistake. No, for the time being at least, she would keep things to herself. At last, Sakura had arrived at her destination, the Team 8 training facility. She wanted to win back her best friend after winning back the love of her life. Sakura was devastated by Naruto's death and would have been in a deep depression if Hinata hadn't supported her. When she discovered she was pregnant, Hinata reminded her that she still had her daughter and that she had her future child to live for. Hinata was like a second mother to her kids, and she loved them just as much as she did. Sakura never harbored resentment toward Hinata despite knowing that she loved Naruto until the day of her death. This was what bonded them. The only person who understood how terrible it was for her to lose him was Hinata, and they consoled one another. Sakura watched Team 8 train while she sat on the edge of the training area. Sakura still found it difficult to see this bashful Hinata. Since Hinata did not become the Hyuga's goddesses of death for no reason, Sakura was aware that beneath her reserved exterior lay a sleeping dragon that was just waiting to awaken. Sakura smirked as she thought of that. She recalled that the Hyuga Council attempted to compel Hinata to wed the son of the Swamp Country daimyo soon after Naruto's passing. Hinata never wanted to discuss the details of what happened, so Sakura only learned what she knew from Neji. He informed her that Hinata was summoned to a meeting by the Hyuga Council, which informed her that she would marry the prince of Swamp Country for the sake of the clan. The old bastards were completely mistaken to believe that she would not fight because she would be so distraught over Naruto's passing. Knowing the nonsense they were attempting to pull, Hinata refused, declaring that she would only ever wed the man she loved, even though he was already dead. She showed some backbone, which surprised the council, and they would have forgiven it if they had been wise. Sadly for the idiots who didn't, they threatened to marry Hanabi to the prince and put her in the branch family. That proved to be their final error, as Hinata reportedly attacked them in a fit of wrath and killed everyone but her father, who resigned as clan head that same day, granting her authority over the clan. Sakura was so preoccupied with her past life that she failed to notice that Team 8 members had taken notice of her presence. It looks like we have a visitor, don't we? Kurenai said loudly enough to catch Sakura's attention, signaling her team to halt their exercise and approach. Damn. Once more, I became sidetracked as Sakura emerged from the bush she was hiding in. She thought, oh well, I wanted to talk to Hinata alone, but it can't be helped now. Team 8 was taken aback when the top fangirl of Uchiha emerged from hiding. The reason Sakura would be spying on their training was unknown to them. Can we help you with something? Kurenai asked the girl with the pink hair. Well, I was just waiting for you to finish your training to see if Hinata wanted to hang out, a trembling Sakura replied. Me? The bashful Hyuga inquired. Why do you want to hang out with Hinata? If you want someone to help you stalk Sasuke, why don't you go look for Ino, said an irritated Kiba, prompting Sakura to get suspicious looks from everyone. Actually, I just finished my team training, so I was thinking of going to the new tea shop in the market district and wanted to invite Hinata to come with me, Sakura said, letting the jab go for the time being even though she really wanted to kick his ass. I don't know Sakura. Hinata truly didn't want to accompany Sakura, but she didn't understand why she wanted to spend time with her because of Sakura's treatment of Naruto. Hinata did not like her. Come on Hinata, I know you'll like it, and besides it's close to Ichiraku's, so we will probably see Naruto if we go, Sakura said in a suggestive tone, knowing that it would be difficult to get the bashful Hinata to want to spend time with her. Fortunately, she knew what to do. When Sakura said that, Hinata blushed deeply and turned red. Hinata considered her offer, though, as Sakura had anticipated. Well, I guess I see could go for an short time, she stammered. The rest of Team 8 sighed at how easily Sakura had tricked Hinata into going, while Hinata blushed at the prospect of seeing Naruto. Sakura smiled and waved her hand in triumph before she and Hinata departed. After a team training, they would witness the shy Hyuga depart with the girl with the pink hair for the first time in many. Only the 3 teams that belonged to her and her friends passed, just like in her former life, after a month had passed since the team selections. Sakura and Naruto have been training covertly and have made several attempts to become friends with Sasuke, but the emo has rejected them all. For 2 main reasons, Sakura persuaded Naruto to conceal their relationship for the time being. She was certain that Kakashi was already watching her, so she was afraid that if she suddenly changed from being a Sasuke fangirl to loving Naruto, people would suspect something. Her friendship with Hinata came in second and was even more significant. Sakura wanted to change the fact that they did not grow close until after Naruto's passing. Sakura had put a lot of effort into getting close to the bashful Hyuga over the past month, but it had not been simple. After much effort, she was able to establish a friendship with Hinata. They had gone shopping and spent time together over lunch and conversation since Sakura knew Hinata loved flowers. They even spent time with Ino in her family's flower shop. Sakura was aware that the game she was playing was risky. Although she was aware of how much it had hurt her the first time, she knew she had to tell Hinata about her relationship with Naruto without hurting her pride. Sakura had to figure out how to tell her. The words, "This is Fox, I'm at point a target sighted," finally jolted her out of her reverie and reminded her that she was in the middle of a mission. "This is Cherry Blossom, I'm at point B waiting for orders." "This is Sasuke, I'm at point C and ready to apprehend target," he said after a brief pause. "You have to use your codename. This is Cyclops Team 7 prepared to attack Fox. Cherry Blossom, you are to lure the target to point C. Emo King, you are to apprehend the target when it gets there, understood? This is Fox, copy that. This is Cherry Blossom, copy that. This Sasuke, copy that." Cyclops said, "What did I say? You must use your codename." Sasuke became enraged and yelled, "I'm not using that stupid codename, and why did you let Naruto pick the codenames anyway?" "The reason," Kakashi said, "because he asked me, was matter of fact." Naruto shouted into the communicator, "Target in position, go for it, Emo." Sasuke simply snarled and leapt to the target's defense. 30 minutes later, Team 7 showed up at the Hokage Tower with their target. The terrifying Tora, the scourge of all elite genin teams, was the wife of the fire daimyo's cat Sasuke, who was furious, would concur because he was covered in bruises and scratches. The fact that his teammates had been making fun of him the entire way there didn't help either. "Congratulations on your successful mission," said the third Hokage. "For your next D-rank mission we have several tasks that include babysitting, dog walking, or painting a fence." He didn't get very far before being cut off. "No, I want to go on a real mission, something challenging and exiting, not this little kid stuff. Come on, old man," chided Naruto. Sasuke and Sakura agreed with him in silence, but Iruka was the one who responded. Naruto started to argue, but Kakashi struck him in the head. "How dare you? You're just brand new genin with no experience like everyone else. You will receive simple missions to develop your skill and prove yourselves." Before realizing that no one was listening, the Hokage started to explain mission ranks and their significance while Naruto was telling Sasuke and Sakura about the kind of ramen he had the night before. Kakashi was reading his book. "Silence, and pay attention," was the Hokage's command after his eyebrows quirked. "Ah, you always lecture me like you're my grandfather or something, but I'm not a little kid anymore. I'm a ninja and I want a ninja mission," shouted Naruto. Sakura decided to assist him. "Lord Hokage, Naruto and I knocked Kakashi out cold. Surely we can handle a C-rank mission." Iruka's eyes widened as the Hokage let out a loud laugh. In contrast, Kakashi experienced a state of semi-depression. "Very well, since you seem so determined, I will give your team a C-rank mission. You will act as bodyguards for a client," the Hokage said after he had finally stopped laughing. "So who are we guarding? A princess? Or some important businessman?" Naruto exclaimed at this. Sakura, of course, knew who it was. The Hokage said, "Please have our guest come in." After a little while, the door opened to reveal an elderly man with glasses who appeared intoxicated, and Sakura recognized him as Tazuna. Sakura laughed as Naruto rolled on the ground, laughing uncontrollably. "What's this? I paid for real ninja, not some snotty-nosed kids. And you, the emo kid with the duck-ass haircut, you expect me to believe you're a real ninja?" Sakura asked as the Hokage pinched the bridge of his nose. Kakashi was attempting to stop the enraged Uchiha from attacking the client. I'm Tazuna, a master bridge builder, and I must return to my country. I'm building a bridge that will change our world, and I expect you to get me there safely, even if it means giving up your life. Everyone get ready for the mission and meet at the front gate in an hour. Dismissed, Kakashi said after finally calming the emo down, and Team 7 departed to prepare for the mission. After an hour and a half, Kakashi eventually arrived to meet Tazuna and his group, who were waiting. Naruto exclaimed with delight as soon as they left the village because it was his first time doing so. You expect me to trust my life to this kid? He's a joke, at least the duck-ass one doesn't yell around like an idiot. Well, you can trust me, I'm a Jonin and I won't let anything happen to you, said Kakashi in a firm tone as he read his book Naruto and said duck-ass hair wearing emo both gave the drunk a glare. After a while, Naruto said, shut up, I'm going to be Hokage one day, so you better remember my name. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Believe it. Tazuna simply ignored him and continued to walk, which only made Naruto even more irate. Sakura saw a puddle on the side of the road. After some time of driving, she turned to face Kakashi again and gave him a serious glance. Kakashi acknowledged that he saw it as well by nodding. It vanished shortly after they passed the puddle, revealing two ninjas with slashes across it and mist headbands. They were equipped with clawed gauntlets that were fastened with a chain with blades, and they wore torn black cloaks and camouflage pants. One of the mist ninjas said, that's one down now for number 2. The mist ninja moved swiftly, wrapped the bladed chain around Kakashi, and then pulled it hard, tearing him apart with ease. Swiftly approaching from behind, the mist ninja intended to harm Naruto as well, but Sakura intervened. She punched the person closest to her with such force that he crashed into a tree before either of them could take any action because of the force Sakura used. The second ninja was drawn along with the first one that was attached to the one she punched. When he landed, he went straight to Tazuna because he didn't want to end up like his brother. The mist ninja roared, die, as he lunged toward the terrified bridge builder. Naruto appeared in front of him in a blur, so he never got to see him. Naruto used his arm bracer to block the mist ninja's attack and punched him in the face as he raised his clawed arm and swung down, aiming for the blonde. Kakashi appeared behind him and easily knocked him out with a chop to the back of his head before the mist ninja could do anything else. Well done, everybody, the one-eyed Jonin remarked. Kakashi-sensei. I thought you were dead, Naruto exclaimed, feeling bewildered. Then, instead of seeing Kakashi's corpse where it should have been, Naruto saw a number of sliced pieces of wood. Substitution? Naruto thought. In a voice that made the old bridge builder perspire, the Jonin said, sorry about that, but I needed to know who they were after us or Tazuna. That reminds me. I think you have some explaining to do, Tazuna. After that, Tazuna filled them in on Gado's actions and his impact on his nation. All three genin expressed their desire to go on, and Kakashi agreed to assist after his nation recovered. Tazuna consented to make up the difference. They eventually arrived at the land of waves following a boat ride. The group was moving fast toward Tazuna's home. Sakura was ready because she knew they would have to confront Zabuza in a short while. There, Naruto said, tossing a kunai into the bushes only to discover that the target was a white rabbit. This is it, Sakura thought when Kakashi yelled, everyone get down. A huge sword leapt into the air, nearly beheading everyone. The owner of the sword appeared on top of it as soon as it struck a tree and became lodged in it. As he put his hand over his headband, Kakashi thought, well, if it isn't Zabuza Momochi Rouge, ninja of the village hidden in the mist, I'm going to need this if he's our opponent. Kakashi of the Sharingan Eye, also known as the copycat ninja. Kakashi of the village hidden in the leaves, a man said to have copied over 1,000 jutsu. Did I get that right? Replied Zabuza. It's too bad, Kakashi, but you're going to have to hand over the old man. Kakashi replied, I'm afraid I can't do that, as he stepped down and grasped his weapon. Zabuza grinned beneath the bandages covering his lower face. Well, it looks like I get to have some fun after all, he said. This is going to be dangerous, was Kakashi's final thought before the battle began. The battle had started exactly as Sakura remembered. The genin of Team 7 was left to battle Zabuza alone after Kakashi, like the last time, got himself trapped in the water prison jutsu. A panicked Kakashi yelled, get the bridge builder and get out of here. This battle was over the moment I was caught. He was aware that a Jonin of Zabuza Momochi's caliber could not be defeated by 3 genin. Team 7 members were aware that running was not an option. Zabuza would simply eliminate Kakashi before pursuing and eliminating them. Naruto, remember that trick we practiced together last training session? Replied Sakura. Hey Sasuke, Sakura and I have a plan, so get ready to take these guys out, okay? Naruto smiled, recalling what she had meant. Sasuke disliked Naruto telling him what to do, but he understood that they would be killed if they did nothing. In any case, he would collaborate with his team this time. Desperately, Kakashi yelled, what are you waiting for? Stay on mission and get out of here. Our mission is to keep the bridge builder alive. He did not want to be present when his students were killed. We're sorry Kakashi-sensei, but we can't do that, began Sakura. Those who break the rules are trash. Kakashi's gaze widened. Naruto concluded, but those who desert their friends are worse than trash. Ha ha ha, laughed Zabuza. You little brats playing at being ninja when you know nothing about what being a real ninja is. Naruto interrupted Zabuza's little tirade. Zabuza was about to reply, but Naruto interrupted him. Hey you eyebrow-less freak. Put this in your bingo book. The ninja that will become the Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. He never backs down. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Remember it? Zabuza appeared irate. Okay guys, let's go wild. Shadow clone jutsu. The single Zabuza clone was immediately surrounded and charged by a dozen shadow clones. Shadow clones. I had some fun tonight after all. Even though I thought Zabuza's clone was buried beneath a mountain of oranges, and quite a few of them, too. However, that did not last long because the Zabuza clone burst from underneath, scattering the Naruto clones everywhere and dispelling a number of them. Naruto took something from his pack and threw it to Sasuke, who caught it and revealed it to be a large shuriken. I'm not finished yet. Sasuke, take this, Naruto said. Sasuke knew right away that something was different about the shuriken when he grabbed it. So, Naruto, this was your plan? Good. As he turned around and drew his own shuriken, Sasuke thought. The voice of Naruto said, go for it, Sasuke, Demon Wind Shuriken Windmill of Shadows, was Sasuke's yell as he hurled the shuriken at Zabuza. The Zabuza clone remarked, a shuriken? You'll never touch me with that. Before a kunai pierced him from behind, turning the clone back to water, Sakura's voice asked, who said we were aiming for you? The real Zabuza said, so you skipped my clone and aimed for my real body. Very clever. But not clever enough, he said, using his free hand to catch the shuriken out of midair. I told you a shuriken can't touch me, he said, only to recognize a smiling team. A second shuriken, the shadow shuriken jutsu, was concealed in the shadow of the first, but Zabuza was still unconcerned. Zabuza had been about to leap over the second shuriken when it vanished into smoke, only to be replaced by a beaming Naruto. Now, Sakura cried out. Naruto was replaced by a log with explosive tags that were ready to detonate with a single hand gesture. Zabuza could only say, no way, before his entire world turned into an agony. After the explosion, Zabuza skidded across the lake until he struck the shore, colliding with a severely burned and injured tree. The majority of the blast was absorbed by Kakashi's water prison, which was more resilient than steel. Good job everyone, that was an excellent plan, he said as he headed to the injured Zabuza, who was largely unharmed when he arrived at shore. In between painful grunts, Zabuza declared, I'm going to kill all of you. Kakashi pointed out a kunai and said, no, you won't. The only thing you're going to do is die, right here and right now. However, a pair of senbon needles pricked Zabuza on the side of the neck before he got to him. Team 7 as a whole was taken aback when it occurred. As they swiftly turned to face the direction from which the senbon originated, they noticed what appeared to be a lone ninja standing on a tree branch next to Zabuza, wearing a white mask with the song of the Hidden Mist Village. The masked ninja declared, you were right, he won't be hurting anyone ever again. Sakura was considering whether it would be better to prevent Haku from taking Zabuza or to let things go as they had in the past, since she knew this was Haku. As he appeared beside Zabuza, Haku said, thank you again, goodbye, he added, and they despaired in a whirlpool of water. What the hell was that? We did all the work and that guy just comes and takes him, said Naruto. Let it go Naruto, I may not be injured too badly but I'm low on chakra and it's too soon for any of you to be picking fights with Hunter Ninja, warned Kakashi. He asked, Tazuna, are we far from your home? Before turning to face her. When Tazuna finally regained her composure, she replied, no, my house is just past the village, which is up ahead. Okay team, let's get going and get Tazuna home, Kakashi said. Nodding, they then made their way to the village. Everyone was shocked by the village's appearance when they arrived, with the exception of Sakura, who had previously witnessed the harm Gato had caused to the tiny nation, and Tazuna, who lived there. The village was filled with sadness and hopelessness. There were indications of poverty everywhere you looked. Everywhere you looked were dilapidated houses, shuttered stores, and homeless people. Naruto became furious at the sight of it. Everyone became aware of how urgently these people needed the bridge to be constructed. A furious Naruto walked through the village and yelled, that bastard, look what he has done to these people. This is how it's been since Gato came here. The children suffer while the adults are too afraid to stop him. They have lost all hope. That's why I have to finish the bridge, It will bring commerce and trade, but more importantly, that bridge will be a sing of courage. We must restore the spirit of my people. When the bridge is finished, people will believe again. They will believe that they can live with dignity. We can't let Gato stop us. Tazuna with a passion that inspired the group. With equal fervor, Naruto declared, we will stop him. I promise, and I never break a promise. Believe it? Sasuke nodded in agreement as they headed to Tazuna's house for some much-needed rest, and Sakura and Kakashi grinned. The team was wrapping up breakfast at Tazuna's house the next day when Kakashi decided it was time to address his group. Kakashi informed them, okay, there's something I need to talk to you about. Naruto queried, what do you want to talk to us about, sensei? Sakura said, he means to tell us that Zabuza is alive. Naruto and Sasuke gave her a perplexed look, but Kakashi gave her a proud one. You're right, Sakura, but how did you figure it out? Kakashi inquired. For one thing, Iruka-sensei told us about Hunter Ninja, and he said that Hunter Ninja always dispose of the body on sight to keep its secrets from falling into enemy hands. That Hunter Ninja, if he was a real Hunter Ninja, should have done the same. Second thing that was off about that Hunter Ninja was that he used Senbon to make the kill. Senbon are rarely lethal but can cause a death-like state if you target certain parts of the human body. With all that, one would have to figure that the Hunter Ninja was no Hunter Ninja at all and was saving Zabuza from us. Sakura was finished. She demonstrated a clear understanding of human anatomy that was undoubtedly not taught at the academy, and she solved everything with ease. Sakura, you never cease to amaze me. I wonder what surprise you'll pull out next, Kakashi thought. The words, that was absolutely correct, Sakura, well done, were spoken by Kakashi. A bewildered Naruto questioned, what, you mean that Zabuza is still alive? Naruto and Sasuke gave Kakashi excited looks as he said, yes, and I'm sure that he will come back for a second attempt to kill Tazuna, so to prepare I'm going to train all of you. Naturally, Sakura was aware that they would both be disappointed. An excited Naruto asked, what kind of training are you going to teach us? Is it going to be some super cool jutsu? No, Kakashi replied with a laugh, I'm actually going to teach you a chakra control exercise to help you get better chakra control. Naruto whined, what? Sasuke, who agreed with Naruto, remarked, what's the point of learning something useless like that? With a smile on his face, he said, hey, it's not useless, it will help you control your chakra so you don't waste it all the time. In addition, he added, if you can master this, you can theoretically master any jutsu. Sasuke and Naruto still didn't seem persuaded. The irritated blonde said, fine, whatever, so what's the exercise? Kakashi got up and led the group to the woods close to the house, saying, follow me outside and I'll show you. Upon arriving, Kakashi paused beside a tree and spoke to them once more. The exercise I'm going to teach you is tree climbing. Naruto frowned because he already knew it from Sakura, and Sasuke frowned because he thought it sounded foolish. Naruto said, but I already know how to climb trees. With a smug tone, Kakashi interrupted, but do you know how to climb trees without using your hands? The blonde's response caught him off guard. With an equally arrogant tone, he presided over doing just that and climbing up the tree Kakashi was standing next to. Actually, yes, I can, he said. Sakura did the same on the tree next to Naruto, following his example. Both Kakashi and Sasuke had shocked expressions on their faces, but Sasuke's soon changed to one of rage that the loser and the fangirl knew something that he and Uchiha did not. What? When? How? Kakashi babbled on. Naruto grinned and nodded as Sakura proudly remarked, I studied chakra control exercises and learned it myself. I knew that because Naruto had horrible chakra control, a lot of his jutsu failed, so I trained him to this and other chakra control exercises. How come you didn't teach Sasuke how to do it? Kakashi asked, glancing at Sasuke and observing the angry expression on his face, which indicated that he was unable to perform the task. Sakura sighed and continued, we tried to get him to train with us so we could work as a team, but every time we asked he said that Uchiha elite like himself did not need help from clan-less losers like us and that we would only slow him down. We got tired of trying, so we stopped asking him to train with us. At this, Kakashi scowled beneath his mask when he glanced at Sasuke, who had a smug expression on his face that suggested he obviously agreed with what Sakura had said. His frown only deepened. Okay, then I'll train Sasuke here on tree climbing and you two can go train somewhere else for now, Kakashi said after letting out a long sigh. An irate Naruto screamed, what? Why don't you teach us something else instead of having us waste our time like that? This caused Kakashi to sigh once more because it appeared that he would need to figure out how to soothe Naruto. Fortunately for Kakashi, Sakura came to his rescue. Sakura said, Naruto, I can't believe you would say something like that. Do you really think that training with me is a waste of time? in a voice that sounded hurt and was prepared to cry uncontrollably. In a heartbeat, Naruto's expression changed from one of rage to one of horror. No, 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 of course not, Sakura, I would never think something like that, never, he said, attempting to stop Sakura from sobbing. Such a naive Naruto. Sakura's face changed from almost crying to smirking in an instant as well. Great. Then stop messing around and let's go, she said, turning around and leaving without noticing the 3 members of Team 7's sweat-drop expressions. Okay, said a content Naruto, relieved that he had not truly offended Sakura, and they soon left. As he watched them go, Kakashi thought, poor Naruto, you're only 12 and she already has you tangled up in her web, you might as well be married if you're going to get whipped. After saying, okay, Sasuke, let's get started, he demonstrated the exercise for Sasuke and explained its significance. In order to keep Sasuke from complaining or noticing his absence, Kakashi left a shadow clone with the Uchiha and went in search of the other 2 members of his team after 2 hours of trying to teach him how to perform the tree climbing exercise. After following Naruto and Sakura to a clearing near a small lake with a waterfall, Kakashi was completely taken aback by what he saw. There were dozens of Narutos divided into groups and performing various chakra control exercises, such as the leaf-holding exercise, tree climbing, and even water walking. One small group was even performing what appeared to be elemental chakra training, but Kakashi knew that even Sakura lacked that level of control. Man, is he wrong? What really caught Kakashi's attention was the small group of clones walking up the waterfall with a couple of Sakura clones with them. Kakashi searched until he located the ones he thought were the real Naruto. Sakura standing in the center of a small army of Naruto clones practicing their taijutsu. As he leapt down the tree he was in to make his presence known, Kakashi thought, wow, these 2 really teach themselves, don't they? If only Sasuke would get over his damn pride, he would benefit from training with them, both physically and more importantly emotionally. What's up, Kakashi-sensei? Has the emo completed his workout yet? With a smile on his face, Naruto asked. No, he continues to train. I tried to give him advice, but he mostly ignores it, claiming that he can learn it on his own if he just has a fangirl to help him. Sakura and Naruto both gave this angry looks. So, Naruto, why are there so many shadow clones? Kakashi inquired. It was Sakura that gave him the answer. Well, sensei, I read that shadow clones are able to pass on all the knowledge and experience they obtain to the original when they are dispelled, so I had Naruto train in chakra control with them to improve his abysmal control. Naruto pouted as he said, hey, I wasn't that bad. You're correct, Naruto, you were worse, she said, but Naruto simply crossed his arms angrily, not wanting to continue the argument, and she was somewhat correct anyhow. Kakashi thought, of course. This type of training is perfect for Naruto with his massive chakra reserves. I wonder why I didn't think of it earlier, because he's too busy reading porn. Sakura, when did you learn how to create shadow clones? Kakashi inquired. 3 weeks or so ago, even though I can't call forth my own army like Naruto. Knowing this jutsu is still helpful, she said. After seemingly considering something for a while, Kakashi nodded in agreement and said, yes, it is, and you 2 seem to know exactly how to use it. He then turned to face them and said, okay, since the 2 of you have been working hard at chakra control, I think you're ready for me to teach you some ninjutsu. Naruto was ecstatic to hear this news, but Sakura didn't seem overly thrilled. Oh, indeed. So, Ha-sensei, what jutsu will you teach us? Asked Naruto, who was happy. He pulled a few pieces of paper from a pouch on his hip and said, well, Naruto, there's something we need to know first. Is that paper for the chakra? Sakura inquired the sentence. Correct, Sakura, this paper will let us know what your elemental affinity is, and was interrupted before Kakashi could finish. Our elemental affinities are already known, Sakura remarked. I have both water and earth, and Naruto has wind. When she said that, Kakashi's mouth would have dropped open. I'll have to look into it later. Just who are you, Sakura? Kakashi thought. Naruto's wind affinity is not surprising since Sensei had wind. But Sakura's 2 affinities? That's more that Chunin and some Jonin have. I assume you discovered your elemental affinities because you felt it would be helpful to know them. Something tells me it was Sakura who thought about it, Kakashi thought as he asked, receiving nods from both of them. I don't know many wind jutsu because wind is a rare affinity regardless of your country. Okay, in that case, he said, drawing 3 scrolls from his vest. Here, Naruto, he said, passing Naruto one of the scrolls. However, I believe this jutsu will be beneficial to you, Naruto. As he started to open it, he said, cool, so what kind of just is it? Wind Blast Jutsu is an aggressive wind-style jutsu. It allows you to blast your enemies with wind. As the name implies, for someone like you who fights at mid to close range, it ought to be useful. Thank you so much, Kakashi-sensei. I'm going to pick this up quickly, the cheerful blonde said. Kakashi turned to Sakura and gave her the 2 remaining scrolls after grinning at Naruto, who reminded him so much of his sensei that it occasionally hurt. I have one for each of your affinities. Sakura removed the scrolls from his grasp as he said, if you master these, let me know and I'll give you others. I have several jutsu for both water and earth. The first is water bullet jutsu, an aggressive water style of jutsu. With this jutsu, you can hit your opponents with a concentrated water blast. The second is mud wall jutsu, a defensive earth style jutsu. You can defend yourself from enemy attacks by using this jutsu to conjure a strong mud wall. Sakura thanked Kakashi. Thank you very much, Kakashi, but I already know these and you can probably teach me most of the jutsu. Sakura thought. Oh well, at least he is genuinely attempting to teach us something rather than ignoring us in favor of Sasuke. Alright, I believe that's sufficient training for today. Let's end the day for today since I know Tazuna is keen to resume working on the bridge. The team left to pick up Sasuke so they could continue their mission, which appeared to be troublesome. In Shikamaru's words, Naruto looked disappointed because he wanted to start practicing his new jutsu, but he knew that if he complained Sakura would be angry, so he stayed quiet. On the night of the team's first training day, Tazuna's daughter Tsunami had prepared a simple yet delicious meal for the team members. The majority of Team 7 had a productive day, but Sasuke was not happy at all because he had spent hours practicing tree climbing and had only made it half the way up the stupid tree. Sakura and Naruto not only knew how to do it already, but they went to do training that wasn't a waste of time, and Sasuke continued to fume quietly as he listened to Naruto discuss the jutsu scroll that Kakashi had given him. He was the one who needed it, not that worthless loser. He needed to get stronger so he could avenge his clan and eventually kill him. Sakura and Naruto had been enjoying a pleasant conversation about the day's training when an irate Inari interrupted them. Yeah, once I learn this new jutsu I'm going to be kicking all kinds of butt, Sakura, Naruto said with a smile. Why are you all still in this place? You're just going to die if you stay here trying to play heroes, he said, grabbing everyone's attention. Hey kid, we're not leaving because it's our responsibility to keep your grandfather safe. In addition, Naruto declared, I'm not going to die until I become Hokage. Naruto became irritated with the sulky child, thinking, this kid is getting on my nerves. He reminds me of stupid Sasuke with that kind of attitude. You're just a simpleton with no knowledge, Inari screamed. Gato is too strong to be defeated. He will simply murder you all. Unaware that it would anger the child, Naruto said, we are going to kick his ass. You just watch, and I'll show you what a real hero is supposed to do. There are no heroes, only idiots who kill themselves because you have never experienced hardship in your life. You speak of being a hero with such ease, the naive child yelled. You must have had it easy your entire life because you can say such stupid things. The room became eerily silent as Sakura and Kakashi realized how mistaken Inari was, and it appeared that everyone else in the room knew to keep quiet. I have no idea what a difficult life is like, huh? Sakura had heard it before. It was a sing of the bottled rage boiling inside Naruto, and you didn't have to be a ninja to feel the waves of anger coming from the normally happy blonde, said Naruto in an eerily calm voice that sends a chill down everyone's spine. You don't know the first thing about me, yelled Naruto as he got to his feet and slammed his hands on the table. You think your life is so bad? Why, since you had a difficult year? 2, perhaps? You have a family that loves you, Naruto said, glaring at the foolish youngster. You're so busy wallowing in your own pity that you don't see how good your life has been, he yelled, causing the child to recoil. Naruto was taking deep, rapid breaths to try to calm himself. With the exception of a handful of people, and that's only recently, I have had nothing but hate, anger, and indifference shown to me by my entire village. Even if the rest of your life sucks, you have them to help you, to at least let you know that you're not alone. They did not want me to corrupt the other kids with my evil, so I was expelled from the orphanage when I was 5 years old. Before the Hokage discovered my situation and offered me an apartment, I spent weeks living among trash on the streets. Since I was old enough to recall, I have endured malnutrition, abuse, neglect, and mockery. Even though my life has been terrible, I refuse to let it control me. I don't run from anything, and I set my own rules. Stop talking if you can't do that. Simply sit there and weep over it to see if it makes a difference. Naruto turned and walked towards the door, saying, it's easy to do nothing, but for things to change you have to be willing to do what's hard and fight for what you care about. Inari, who looked like his mother, was crying at this point in Naruto's story. Naruto said, I'm going to go train for a while because I need to blow some steam, and then he left. Except for Inari's sobbing, the room was silent. Was that the reality of Naruto's life? Sakura was about to respond when Tsunami asked, but Sasuke beat her to it. Sakura gave him a fierce look when he said, of course not. He was obviously lying. However, Kakashi responded to his assertion. The statement, "It wasn't a lie, Sasuke," caught everyone's attention. What are you discussing? He is, of course, lying. What possible reason could the entire village have for detesting him so much, even if he is a loser? The agitated Uchiha remarked. His foolish antics are annoying, but they're just foolish antics. Unfortunately, I am unable to reveal the cause. Only Naruto is capable of doing so. I can tell you that the version of Naruto's life that he gave Inari is a sugar-coated version. The truth is far worse than what he told you. Kakashi then got up and left the group, making his way upstairs for the night. Throughout the entire episode, Sakura stayed silent. She was aware of how horrible Naruto's life had been, and it still made her feel ashamed and disgusted at herself for causing him so much suffering in her past life. I won't let Sasuke become the monster he became last time, no matter what the cost. I won't let Naruto become obsessed with bringing the traitor back. I'll kill Sasuke myself before I let that happen again, she thought as she excused herself and went to bed. A furious Naruto was training in the forest at the same time. Wind style. Wind blast jutsu. He screamed as he inhaled deeply and let go of the jutsu, only to have a slight breeze emerge rather than a powerful gust of wind. Gosh. Taking a deep breath to calm himself, he huffed Naruto, saying, "Stupid kid doesn't know what he's talking about." He made a cross-shaped hand sign and said, "Alright, forget the kid, I'll show him and everyone else what I can do." He screamed, "Shadow clone jutsu," and a dozen clones materialized beside him with a puff of smoke. He then turned to face the clones and said, "I'll be right, we're going to practice the new jutsu that Kakashi-sensei gave me, so let's do it," which caused his clones to cheer him loudly. Haku was employed by the now revived Zabuza at his hideout. "Damn it, Haku, why did you use the pressure points in my neck to put me in the death-like state?" said a furious Zabuza. Haku said in a feminine tone, "I'm sorry, Zabuza, but it was the only way to get you out of there safely. Whatever, as soon as I'm better I'm going to get even with those pieces of leaf scum, especially with that stupid blonde brat," said Zabuza. Haku laughed. "Well, I will go get some healing herbs in the morning to help you recover faster, but it will be at least a week before you are back on your feet." At that moment, they heard the door open and saw a short man in sunglasses and a business suit being escorted by two thugs with swords at their sides. "Well, would you please take a look at that?" the little man named Gato remarked. "The demon of the mist is bedridden by a group of brats." Haku gave the midget a fierce look but remained silent. "Gato, why are you here and what do you want?" an irritated Zabuza asked. "Why am I in this place? Who are you? How are you doing here? I'm not paying you to have a group of kids kick you," the irate Oompa Loompa yelled. "Why isn't the bridge builder dead? I'm paying you to do a job. He and the remaining trash from the Leaf Village will soon be dead." As he reached for his enormous sword to ensure the short man understood, he said menacingly, "Now leave before I make you shorter than you already are." As he and his men left the room, Gato gulped and said, Fine, just make sure you do kill the bridge builder or you won't get paid." Haku declared, "I don't trust him. Even though I don't trust him, we must complete the task because we need the money when we get paid. I'll take care of him," Zabuza said as he reclined. The next morning, Haku was strolling through the forest, pausing occasionally to gather some medicinal herbs, when he came upon a clearing in the forest. Upon closer inspection, Haku saw that a number of trees had been toppled, and the area was covered in damage, as if a battle had just taken place. Haku decided it would be wise to get a closer look, and when he approached to get a better look, he was shocked to see that the person sleeping in the middle of the clearing was none other than the blonde ninja who had fought Zabuza. The sleeping blonde was an enemy, and Zabuza's plan would benefit from his death. Haku's hand hovered over the boy's neck, still unsure of what to do. Naruto could not recall ever falling asleep, but he was now being gently shaken awake and hearing a gentle voice talking to him. "If you sleep outside, you'll get a cold. Come on, wake up," the voice said. "Who?" When Naruto opened his drowsy eyes, he saw what appeared to be a pretty girl kneeling over him, sleepy and bewildered. He got up and looked around, only to discover that he was still in the forest after wiping the sleep from his eyes. The same voice that woke him asked, "Are you alright?" When Naruto turned to face the person speaking to him, he saw that it was a pretty girl with brown eyes and long black hair that reached her shoulder, dressed in a pink kimono. "Who are you, anyway?" Without giving it any thought, he said, "Who are you?" Naruto asked politely after realizing his rudeness. "And why are you in this place?" he asked, his face slightly flushed. In response, Haku grinned and said, "I'm a villager and I'm here gathering herbs." "Herbs?" he inquired. "Yes. That is correct. Haku smiled and replied. They are for healing wounds and treating illnesses? Oh, so, would you like some assistance? Asked Naruto, who received a nod and a smile from Haku. Naruto stood up, and Haku started to describe the herbs they were searching for. Sakura was entering the kitchen at Tazuna's house when she saw that everyone but Naruto was present, so it appears that Naruto never returned from training last night, huh? She inquired. Glancing up from his book, Kakashi remarked, it's likely that he fainted during training. As is customary, he concluded, I'm sure he's fine, and returned to his book. Sakura took a seat and began eating, unconcerned because she knew what Naruto could do if he were forced into a fight. Sasuke, however, rose and moved in the direction of the door. Sasuke, where are you heading? Tsunami inquired. It's still early. He said, I'm going for a walk, and left the room. He can't fool me. He's probably going to go look for Naruto. Oh well, I guess there's nothing to worry about, Sakura said, glancing at Sasuke's retreading back as he left the room. Sakura then turned back to her meal. Naruto was assisting Haku in gathering herbs back in the forest. You begin your work early, don't you, sis? As he gave Haku one of the herbs he had picked up, the blonde asked. I enjoy the morning because it's serene and quiet, Haku replied. To be honest, I didn't think I would find anyone sleeping in the forest. I was working on a new jutsu that will help me grow stronger, Naruto said with a smile to Haku. Are you a ninja, then? Because I saw that you're wearing a headband? Naruto's smile only got bigger. You saw that, huh? These are only for really cool ninjas like me, he declared with pride. Really? That's really amazing, I see, but does that imply that you're preparing for a dangerous situation? Haku inquired. I was just practicing a new jutsu technique. Although it takes a lot of effort, it will make me stronger. Don't you think that your newfound strength is sufficient? No, I need to get stronger and stronger, so I need to keep practicing. Why? Why does it matter so much to you? I want to become the strongest and best ninja in my village because when I do, I'll become Hokage and everyone will have to accept and acknowledge me. Additionally, I have a commitment to uphold and something to prove to someone who is very significant to me. Are you doing this for yourself, or are you doing it for that person? Who? Was Naruto's triumphant return. Haku laughed at the expression on Naruto's face. I meant to ask if you have a special someone in your life. Someone I hold dear. By that, sis, what do you mean exactly? After standing silently for a while, searching for the right words, Haku finally said, you see, when someone has something or someone to protect, that's when they become truly strong. He smiled sorrowfully. Naruto considered what Haku had said, recalled his battle with Zabuza and, more importantly, his battle with Mizuki, and recalled the feelings of rage and desperation he had when he saw someone he cared about in danger. He considered Sakura, Kakashi, Iruka, Teouchi, and Ayame, the third Hokage, and even, to a lesser degree, Sasuke. He smiled slightly and said, yeah, sis, I hear you. I know exactly what you're talking about. Then I know you will become strong, very strong, Haku said, getting up and picking up the herb basket. Naruto got to his feet and grinned at Haku. Just as Haku turned to go, Naruto said, thanks a lot, sis. You're welcome, Naruto, but I think I should let you know something, said Haku, pausing before turning to face Naruto. What is it? He put his hands behind his head and smiled as he asked. I'm a boy. Quietness. What? The shocked Naruto thought. He's a guy. No way. He's prettier than Sakura. As Haku chuckled at the expression on his face. Sakura was assisting Tsunami with dishwashing back at Tazuna's house when she felt a sudden and intense rage that made her freeze in order to get Tsunami's attention. Sakura, are you okay? She inquired, regaining her composure. Sakura responded anxiously. Yeah, I'm fine. I guess that I spaced out there for a second. Tsunami gave her a brief glance before shrugging and returning to the dishwashing. I feel like I really want to hurt Naruto right now for some reason. Why is that? I wonder. Her eyebrows twitched as she thought. She returned to assisting Tsunami, assuming it was nothing. Sasuke had located the clearing where Naruto had been practicing back in the forest. The fact that Naruto was growing stronger while he was still stuck doing tree climbing with Kakashi, which he believed was a waste of time, infuriated him as he saw the damage all around him. Sasuke was already furious, but what he saw when he searched for Naruto and discovered him at the edge of the clearing only made him even more so. Naruto and a pretty girl were standing there chatting and laughing. I assume that the loser gave up trying to get the fangirl with the pink hair to go out with him at last, huh? At least this one is actually pretty good looking, he thought, not that some poor village girl from this pitiful country is any better. Sasuke does not know Sakura and Naruto are secretly going out, though Kakashi has his suspicions. Normally Sasuke didn't care what Naruto did, but what really annoyed him was that the loser was not only getting stronger, but he was also doing it apparently with plenty of time to waste flirting with girls. Well, if the loser thinks I'm going to let him get away with that, he's dead wrong, Uchiha thought as he approached them. In contrast to Naruto, Haku saw Sasuke arrive and made the decision to depart, saying, "Well, it was nice to meet you, Naruto, but I really should be going home so I can start treating my friend." He scratched the back of his head and said, I guess you're right, I should be getting back before Sakura kills me for being late." He didn't mention that he had experienced a strange sense of dread earlier, as if his life were suddenly in grave danger. After giving Naruto a brief bow, Haku turned to go, but Sasuke was standing in front of him, obstructing his path. Naruto questioned, "Sasuke? What are you doing here?" Sasuke gave Naruto a fierce look before grinning and turning back to face Haku. His voice was flirtatious as he said, "Hey there beautiful, what's your name?" Naruto's eyes widened in surprise despite all the girls that followed him, not even Sakura, for whom Naruto was grateful. Sasuke had never expressed any interest in women during the time that Naruto knew him, to be honest. Naruto was beginning to believe that Sasuke was gay. Naruto suddenly recalled that Haku was a man in a desperate attempt to contain his laughter. Naruto's mouth snapped shut. Haku gave Sasuke a smile. He tried to move around Sasuke but was interrupted, saying, "Thank you for the compliment, but I'm really in a hurry." In an attempt to sound as cool as possible, he nodded towards Naruto and said, "Hey, don't be like that. Why don't you forget that loser over there, and you let me take you out on a date?" In contrast, Naruto had both hands covering his mouth in a futile attempt to contain his laughter. Haku started to say, "I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I can't accept your offer. I really must get going," but Sasuke interrupted. Saying, "I'm Sasuke Uchiha," seemed to resolve the issue. Haku noted the details for later, but he was growing increasingly irritated with the obstinate boy in front of him. As Haku sidestepped him and eventually avoided the Uchiha, he remarked, "Well, it was nice meeting you, Sasuke Uchiha, but like I said, I really must be going." Sasuke glanced at Haku. A little irritated. Why was this one so different from the others? No girl had ever ignored him. In fact, they always made every effort to attract his attention. Still trying to sound smooth, he said, "You never did tell me your name, gorgeous." Now, Naruto lay on the ground, his face turning purple from a valiant attempt to contain his laughter. "My name is Haku, and I'm a guy," Haku said, pausing to smile at the obnoxious boy. He then turned to leave the clearing, but not before hearing Naruto's thunderous laughter behind him. "I see that Naruto and Sasuke are not back yet. Perhaps I should go out and look for them," Kakashi said to Sakura and Tazuna as he entered the living room of Tazuna's house. Sakura and Kakashi went outside to take a look when they heard loud laughter approaching the house. When they emerged, they saw a laughing Naruto clutching his sides as though in agony and a furious Sasuke glaring daggers at the laughing blonde. Angry Uchiha growled, "Shut the hell up, loser." Naruto uttered the words, "Ha ha. Oh, I don't think so, Sasuke," before bursting into more laughter. As he tackled the still laughing blonde, he screamed, "I'm not gay. We don't have time for this. The bridge isn't finished yet, and Zabuza will undoubtedly return before then, so come on, you two, get it together," Kakashi said, letting out a sigh as he pulled the two apart. Sasuke gave Naruto one last glare and walked out of the group without saying anything, but Naruto snatched Sakura and hurried her inside, clearly wanting to explain his laughter to her. "Well, this is going to be a long mission," Kakashi said, shaking his head as he took out his orange book. He then went off to do whatever it is that he does when no one is looking. The team had been in the land of waves for a few days now. Now that she had completed putting on her ninja gear, Sakura stood in her room after she was done. She calmed herself by taking a deep breath. Zabuza was going to take the initiative today. When Sakura went downstairs, she discovered that everyone had already arrived for breakfast, with the exception of Naruto, who was still asleep. She was greeted by Tsunami, who asked her to sit down so she could serve her breakfast. Sakura saw Kakashi and Tazuna conversing as she started to eat. "In a few days the bridge will be finished and I have all of you to thank for that," stated Tazuna. As he read his book, Kakashi said, "Well, don't thank us just yet. Zabuza will make his move soon, and that's when the real danger will come. Be that as it may, I would like to ask you a question that I have been meaning to ask you before but have not had the time to do it," replied Tazuna. Kakashi nodded to Tazuna, signaling him to ask his question, and looked up from his book. "Why did you stay to protect me even when you found out that I had lied to bring you here?" Tazuna responded. After turning his head away from him, Kakashi glanced at Sakura, who was seated in front of him, and then at Sasuke, who was seated next to him. Sakura could tell that he was grinning beneath his mask because his visible eye formed a U shape. Then, turning back to Tazuna, Kakashi responded to him. Those who stray from the path of justice have no courage, but under the wing of a strong leader cowardice cannot survive. He stated. Everyone looked at Kakashi in confusion, except Sakura, who had heard the saying before. That was a quote from the first Hokage, he said, noticing that Inari was considering what he was saying. Anyway, he added. Kakashi told Tazuna, we can escort you to the bridge as soon as Naruto wakes up. Sakura's thoughts were racing after that. Gato would send some of his thugs to capture Tsunami, so she knew Naruto had to stay without raising suspicions. She had to persuade Kakashi to allow him to remain. Sakura grabbed everyone's attention by saying, maybe we should let him get a little extra sleep. He was training pretty hard yesterday and probably overdid it. We should let him get some rest, and when he wakes up Tsunami can send him to join us, she said in an informal manner. After giving it some thought, Kakashi concurred with Sakura. He had been spying on Naruto and Sakura's training for the past few days, and Naruto had been pushing himself really hard. He was taken aback by Naruto's progress with the wind jutsu he had taught him. Sakura's lack of practice of the jutsus he had given her disappointed him a little, but he assumed it was because she lacked Naruto's chakra capacity, but then again, no one does. The rest of the team left with Tazuna for the bridge after reaching a consensus. With Sakura already formulating plans in her mind for the battle she knew would be waiting for them once they arrived. Yes, I think Sakura is right. Naruto has been pushing his body to the limit the past few days and could really use the rest. He then turned to Tsunami and said, we'll leave him in your care, and when he wakes up please send him to the bridge. Naruto gradually awoke a few minutes after the group departed the house for the bridge. Where is everybody? He asked himself, blinking his eyes and scanning the area, only to discover that Sasuke and Kakashi had already left and their beds had been made. He hurried down the stairs and out of the room. Only Tsunami was washing dishes when he arrived, and Inari was staring out the window. He hurriedly said, hey, where's everybody? Where did everybody go? Oh Naruto, your sensei thought you needed a rest so they let you sleep in, Tsunami said. Turning to face him, Naruto would have gone on, but he screamed in exasperation and hurried upstairs to change. The angry blonde hurriedly put on his clothes and said, I knew it, they all ditched me. When he was done, he rushed to the bridge and leapt out the window. When the rest of the team reached the bridge, they saw a terrible scene. Every employee was lying on the ground, some of them unconscious and others grunting in agony. Tazuna was afraid his people were dead. A terrified Tazuna screamed, what happened? Someone was here, someone got to them. This is it. This is where it begins. Sakura gazed at the area that would soon be turned into a battlefield and thought, I will change the past, and I'm going to start right here. I will change everything. As a dense fog started to roll across the bridge, signaling the start of the battle, she braced herself. As he prepared for battle, Kakashi said, Sasuke, Sakura, get ready, it looks like round 2 is about to begin. He's here, Sakura thought. Sorry to keep you waiting, Kakashi, but where is the blonde brat? All I see is the pink-haired girl and the coward that's still shaking in fear. Pathetic, Zabuza said, as a number of Zabuza water clones materialized and encircled the group, making Sasuke smirk. Zabuza's voice could be heard through the mist. I'm not shaking in fear, said Sasuke, I'm trembling with excitement. The words, go on Sasuke, do it, came from Kakashi. Before any of the clones could act, they were all sliced in half and scattered into the surrounding water as Sasuke reappeared in the same location as he had been just a moment before. One of the clones attempted to attack, but Sasuke vanished in a blur. Haku, who was still wearing the hunter mask, was standing next to Zabuza when he said, so you took out my water clones who? The brat has improved. He uttered the words, looks like you have a rival Haku, simply to get his attention. Haku uttered the words, so it would seem, without showing any emotion. Returning to Tazuna's residence, Inari, could you please come down and help me with something? Tsunami responded. He said, sure, Mom, I'll be right down. Tsunami heard a crash just then. Her door had been broken, and she turned to see it. 2 of Gato's thugs were the men who did it, and she knew it. So you're Tazuna's daughter who? Well, too bad, you're going to have to come with us, stated one of them. Inari had been upstairs when his mother screamed and there was a loud crash. When he came downstairs, he saw his mother lying on the ground, her cheek bruised from being hit. Inari yelled, Mother, to get her attention. In a panic, she yelled at him, no, don't come here, run away, hurry. When the thugs saw Inari, one of them yelled, don't move, kid, should we grab him too? He asked, turning to face his partner. No, said the other, shaking his head. Gato stated that he wanted one hostage. The first one grinned at this. Great, he said, drawing his sword, that means I can waste the kid. Wait, please don't hurt my son, he's just a boy, I'll do anything you want, just please don't hurt him, asked Tsunami. Looks like your mom came through for you, kid, you should consider yourself lucky, the second thug said after nodding to the first. They then seized Tsunami and started tying her up. As the men helped his mother and removed her from their house, Inari could only weep and watch. He heard Naruto's voice in his head as he sat there in tears. Coward. Naruto's voice said, simply sit there and weep over it to see if it makes a difference. However, I'm afraid I fear death, I apologize, but it's just too difficult, Inari thought. It's easy to do nothing, but if you want things to change, you must be prepared to put in the effort and stand up for what you believe in. Inari's eyes enlarged. Naruto had been correct all along. It was he who had been foolish to give up. Inari recalled his father saying, if you care about something, protect it with both of your arms, even if it means putting yourself in danger. Yes, Inari was going to take action after finally realizing what Naruto and his father had meant. One of the thugs outside grabbed Tsunami's face and said, don't worry, your pretty little head, we're going to treat you real good. All three of them turned to see Inari standing there with a resolute expression on his face. Stop! Let my mom go, they exclaimed. Screaming in terror, a Tsunami said, Inari! No, run away. The one who had intended to attack Inari said, well, look what we have here, looks like we have a little tough guy who. The other one remarked, how adorable, he came to save his mommy. When he charged at them, Inari yelled, you better get away from my mom. The first one pulled out his sword and raised it to slay the boy, saying, that's it, the brat's dead. But he had no chance because they heard a popping sound behind them. Before Inari arrived, a log was on the floor where Tsunami had been a second earlier when they turned around. One of them exclaimed, what the hell? Wind style. Wind blast jutsu. A strong gust of wind blasted them off the walkway and into the sea before either of them could comprehend what had happened. From behind Inari, Naruto said, I apologize for being late, but the heroes usually arrive at the last minute. Naruto untied his mother when Inari turned around. Inari! She uttered while embracing her son and sobbing with joy. Well done, Inari, your father would be proud of you. I know I am, Naruto remarked, glancing at Inari. Tsunami inquired, how did you know those men were here? Well, as I was making my way to the bridge, I saw that a wild boar had been killed at the side of the road. It had been killed with a sword, and I noticed some of the trees had also been cut. The cuts seemed to be heading in the direction of the house, so I wanted to make sure you guys were okay, so I came back, said Naruto with a grin. Naruto finally made his way to the bridge after he was certain they were safe, hoping he wouldn't arrive too late. Tazuna and Team 7 were back on the bridge, looking at Haku and Zabuza. Kakashi remarked, looks like I was right, it was all just an act. So that whole business about being a hunter ninja was just a bunch of bull? Replied Tazuna. Yeah, it seems so, Kakashi replied. I'm tired of waiting, take care of the punk. Haku, replied Zabuza. Yes, Zabuza, Haku replied. He then launched the assault. When Sasuke noticed this, he leapt in to stop him. Sakura covered Tazuna and stay close to me, let Sasuke handle him, replied Kakashi. I suppose I have no other option. The bridge would be destroyed by the majority of my jutsu, and I have to be cautious when using medical jutsu in front of Kakashi because he is already closely monitoring me, Sakura thought. Okay, Kakashi-sensei, I got it, she said. Haku and Sasuke were battling at breakneck speed before they clashed their kunais and ended up facing each other. They were weaving, dodging, and blocking each other's attacks. Haku attempted to reason with the Uchiha by saying, we want the bridge builder, not you. If you back down, I won't have to kill you. Save it, loser, as if a pathetic fake like you could ever hope to match the power of an elite Uchiha like me, replied Sasuke. You're making a mistake, you won't be able to keep up with my speed, said Haku. I have already gained 2 key advantages over you. Oh yeah? Well, what are they? Asked Sasuke with a sly smile. Before Sasuke could process what he had said, Haku started to fly through one-handed hand songs. First, we are surrounded by water. Second, I have blocked one of your hands so you only have one hand to defend yourself. Sings with just one hand. I've never seen that before, Kakashi thought. Secret Jutsu. 1000 Needles of Death describes how the water surrounding the two rose into the air after Haku finished announcing his attack. The water then transformed into ice needles, which then blasted forward to impale Sasuke. However, Sasuke was able to escape in time to avoid the attack by concentrating his chakra on his feet and releasing it all at once, taking advantage of the situation. Sasuke fired multiple shuriken at Haku, forcing him to leap back to avoid them. As a result, Haku lost sight of Sasuke, who materialized beside him and kicked him hard in the face, sending him tumbling across the bridge and landing right in front of Zabuza. Sasuke boastfully remarked, "I told you nobody can match the power of Uchiha like me. You made a big mistake insulting my student Zabuza. Sasuke here is the Leaf's #1 rookie. Sakura here is the brightest mind of her age, and Naruto is the most unpredictable knucklehead ninja to ever come out of the Hidden Leaf village," Kakashi proudly stated. Naruto was leaping through the trees back in the forest when he sneezed so forcefully that he lost his balance and fell off the tree he was standing on. "Haku, we can't afford to waste any more time like this, so get on with it," Zabuza said, growing irritated back on the bridge. "Yes, Zabuza," Haku replied when he clasped his hands together. A lot of chakra encircled his body. The air suddenly became cold, and before anyone could react, ice-based mirrors started to appear all around Sasuke, creating a dome of reflections. Haku said, "I'm sorry it has come to this. Secret jutsu? Crystal ice mirrors. What is that? And how does it operate?" As the boy in the hunter ninja mask entered one of the ice mirrors, Kakashi thought, "I have to do something," as he moved to assist Sasuke but was stopped by Zabuza after he finished. His reflections appeared on all the other mirrors as well. "Oh no you don't, Kakashi, your fight is with me. If you make a move to interfere with their fight, the bridge builder and the girl are dead. Besides, your boy doesn't stand a chance against Haku. Even the strongest Jonin have fallen against him. The Uchiha brat is as good as dead," he said before starting to attack. After a few minutes, Naruto finally made it to the bridge. He soon saw that Sakura was watching over Tazuna while Kakashi was fighting Zabuza. He noticed a dome that appeared to be composed of mirrors on the opposite side of the bridge, where the phony hunter ninja was transforming Sasuke into a human pin cushion. Sasuke threw a huge fireball at the mirrors in a last-ditch effort to get away, but it didn't even scratch them. Damn it. As he walked to the dome in an attempt to remain undetected, Naruto thought, "My wind jutsu won't do anything to them if Sasuke's fireball didn't scratch them." Normally, he would have made a big, showy entrance in an attempt to appear cool, but Sakura had instilled in him the idea that ninjas must be silent and undetectable rather than noisy and obnoxious. Haku and the young Uchiha were arguing back in the dome. The boy seemed to have awakened his powerful bloodline in the heat of battle. He could now block or dodge the majority of Haku's attacks. He would find things more difficult the longer the battle lasted. Thus, Haku decides to put an end to the fight for good. "I have wasted too much chakra. I have to defeat this boy now and help Zabuza," he said, making a few hand gestures. Sasuke is rendered immobile as soon as the water beneath his feet rises and turns to ice by attacking him from all directions and striking him in several places because he was unable to move out of the way. Haku seizes the chance to end the fight. This occurred while Naruto was getting ready for his attack. In order to break the jutsu, he intended to use his shadow clones and kunais with explosive tags to attack the dome from all sides. When he witnessed Sasuke being struck by Haku's attack, he abandoned the plan. He entered the dome more quickly than he had anticipated and managed to grab Sasuke before the ice that had held him turned back into water and he fell to the ground. "Hey Sasuke, are you okay? Tell me something, please," yelled Naruto. With his recently awakened Sharingan still in motion, Sasuke turned to face Naruto. Naruto noticed that Sasuke's eyes had changed from being onyx black to blood red, and that he had two black comas on the right and one on the left. Sasuke was speaking to Naruto while blood was streaming from his mouth. His eyes returned to normal as he said, "He's still out there. My brother, I promised myself I would not die until I killed him. That was my dream, according to Uchiha. Don't let your dream die too, Naruto." As tears streamed down his cheeks, his eyes became distracted, and his body went limp. Sasuke's motionless body was all Naruto could look at. The tears streaming down his face went unnoticed by him. He had not been close to Sasuke. In fact, he generally detested Sasuke's demeanor. However, Sasuke had been his teammate and comrade, and he had used his rivalry to get stronger and better despite not being a close friend. Sasuke was one of the few people who did not despise him for his innermost thoughts, and he was gone now. Sasuke's dreams and life had been stolen. Who was going to foot the bill? Blood was going to be their price. "Is this the first time you have seen a friend die in battle?" asked Haku but got no answer. This is part of what it means to be a ninja. He died a true shinobi worthy of honor. As he placed Sasuke's body down, Naruto snarled, "Shut up," in a hoarse whisper. The water surrounding him started to evaporate as he worked. As a cyclone of red chakra erupted around him, he declared, "You're going to pay for this." The chakra was so powerful that it tore the ruble to pieces as it sliced into the earth. In the center of the cyclone, Naruto got to his feet, face down. He raised his head to look at Haku, But the boy he had met in the forest had vanished from his face. His cerulean eyes vanished, to be replaced by blood-red eyes with slits in the middle that resembled those of cats. His canines and nails grew longer, resembling claws and fangs. He appeared more feral as his whisker lines became darker and thicker. When Naruto did speak, it was not in his own voice. It was a darker voice, one that was filled with anger and bloodlust, hate, and malice. As the cyclone exploded, he roared, "I'm going to kill you." A wave of chakra shattered all the mirrors, causing Haku to drop the jutsu. Sakura had been observing the altercation between Zabuza and Kakashi, waiting for the ideal opportunity to step in abruptly. A foul chakra surged through her. She was familiar with this chakra from her past life. As she watched Kakashi call forth his ninja dogs to find and attack Zabuza, she realized the likely cause and knew it was almost time for her to take action. Haku couldn't comprehend what had transpired. He had just vanquished the Uchiha boy 1 minute, and then the blonde boy he had met in the forest had suddenly materialized. The blonde's strongest jutsu was shattered when he felt a surge of power come from him after witnessing his friend fall. Before Haku could respond, the untamed-looking boy appeared in front of him and struck him in the face with such force that his mask broke and he flew across the bridge until he struck the railing as the angry blonde charged at him, ready to finish him. Haku's only option was to sit there, broken and bruised, but the boy's fist halted just centimeters from Haku's face as he was about to land the final blow. Naruto was gasping for air because he recognized the boy in front of him, the same boy he had met a few days prior in the forest. He had halted his attack. "Haku, is that really you? Go ahead and kill me. I'm done. I've failed my master. I'm nothing more than a broken tool that has lost its value. I have no further use or proposal for existing. Why didn't you do it? Why didn't you just swear to kill me to exact revenge on your friend? Or were those just empty words?" It would be an understatement to say that Naruto was perplexed. "What are you talking about? You seem to want to pass away. Why?" Haku started telling Naruto everything about himself, including his family and how he met Zabuza, after he asked the boy in front of him, "Sorry, but I'm too lazy to write Haku's sad life story. It's over, Zabuza." Kakashi used his ninja dogs to capture Zabuza along with the other group. It's time to wrap this up, but Sharingan's imitations of other ninjas' jutsu won't be used. No, it's time to present to you. Chakra started to gather as lightning erupted from his palm and encircled him before it stabilized in his hand. "My own jutsu," said Kakashi as he flew through hand sings at incredible speed. "Lightning blade," he cried. "I won't let you kill Tazuna. He has a noble dream and is a brave man. The hope of this land and its people is the bridge he is constructing like a sickness. You attack one and harm everyone while showing no concern. That's not how shinobi do things." Under the bandages covering the bottom of his face, Zabuza merely grinned. "You're right. I don't give a damn. Why should I care about these worthless little people and their trivial aspirations?" Zabuza screamed. "I have my own dream, and I don't care what I have to do or who I have to destroy to make it come true. However, you need a future in order to have a dream, but you don't, Zabuza. You've used up your future. It is here and now that you will die." Kakashi shouted as he lunged toward the motionless Zabuza. "It appears I can still do a final service for my master," Haku said, performing some hand singing. "Goodbye, Naruto. May you become a strong Hokage like no other," he said as he sank into the mirror that had appeared behind him. Haku was attempting to persuade Naruto to kill him when they felt a strong chakra surge followed by the sound of chirping birds. It didn't matter that it was too late for Kakashi to halt his attack. He was about to kill the boy when he heard Sakura's voice from the mist. Kakashi was running at Zabuza at full speed, intent on killing him, but something unexpected happened just as he was about to do it. A mirror of ice appeared in front of Zabuza, with the fake hunter ninja ready to intercept the attack. Water style. Tidal shield. His lightning blade was his most powerful jutsu, capable of breaking through even the strongest of defenses, but Sakura's jutsu, a water jutsu, had stopped his attack. That shouldn't have been possible. Kakashi didn't have time to think about it as his jutsu dispersed along with his ninja dogs that held Zabuza because he was out of chakra. Sakura's shield also dispersed just as Haku's jutsu failed and he passed out in front of Zabuza. "So my entire future is gone. Huh?" Zabuza laughed at Kakashi and then glared at Haku's unconscious form, saying, "I guess your genin didn't get the memo. Pathetic. Couldn't you even handle the brat, Haku? If you can't even follow instructions, you're nothing more than a useless tool." Zabuza started to say something else, but was cut off by an irate voice. "You're a jerk. You and Haku have been together for years, and that's how you thank him for almost killing himself for you." Everyone turned to see a livid-looking Naruto. Kakashi was afraid that the fox's chakra might come out again by the look on his face. "You don't comprehend how shinobi operate. He is only helpful if he can finish the tasks I assign him. Otherwise, I only used him as a tool." "I don't use a broken tool," Zabuza said. If you really mean that, then you're a bigger asshole than I thought you were, replied Naruto. Kakashi tried to soothe the irate blonde by saying, "Calm down, Naruto. Stop talking. This bastard is a piece of garbage in my opinion. In spite of everything he has done for you, you are an ungrateful bastard. You are Haku's life, for him. You are the most significant thing in the world. And you claim that you don't care about him? Does it mean nothing to you that he gives up everything for you every single day of his life? He has sacrificed everything for your dream. He has no dreams of his own, and he doesn't give a damn because he's content as long as he can help you realize yours, and you're prepared to disregard him as if he were nothing? That's so wrong. So wrong," Naruto uttered, tears streaming down his face. Naruto turned to face Zabuza, who was crying as well, and he said, "You talk too much. Your words cut deeper, deeper than any blade." His heart broke as he battled you. Haku is too gentle and kind. You see, Zabuza then turned to Kakashi and said, "We're done here. I won't go after the bridge builder anymore." Before Kakashi could reply, someone else spoke. "He feels pain and sorrow and curse him. I feel them too, but I feel content with it all the same." "Is that Zabuza? I suppose it's for the best that I chose to cut you off the payroll." Everyone turned to see Gato standing at the end of the bridge, standing in front of a small army of thugs carrying various weapons. The short bastard remarked, "But you would be doing me a favor if you could kill a few before you die, because these guys aren't free." "This isn't good. Then we're all exhausted and nearly depleted of chakra," Kakashi remarked. Sakura got everyone's attention by saying, "Not all of us. I'll take care of them," she said as she flew through hand sings. "Water style. Water shuriken jutsu," she said as the water around them rose into the air and took the shape of hundreds of shuriken. A second later, all the shuriken rained down on Gato and his men, not letting a single one escape. Gato himself got one right between the eyes, ending the midget's life instantly. There was only silence as everyone was shocked by what they had just witnessed, and Naruto did not think Sakura was weak. She killed all those people without flinching. Zabuza was the first to recover. "Wow, Kakashi, it appears you were correct when he saw what Sakura was capable of," he exclaimed. "I better not piss off your brats or I'm likely to end up dead." Soon after, the villagers, led by Inari, arrived prepared to fight, only to discover that the battle had already ended. Sakura used the occasion to go check on Sasuke and was relieved to learn that he was still alive and would soon awaken. Team 7 stood on the freshly fished bridge. A few days later, Kakashi had agreed with Naruto and Sakura to release Zabuza and Haku since they posed no threat to the mission, which greatly infuriated Sasuke, who was still angry with Haku for beating him even after he awoke his Sharingan. Sakura had covertly treated the majority of Haku's wounds, and the group had departed the day before. As they were ready to depart, Tazuna addressed the team. "Without all of you, we could never have completed the bridge. We cannot express enough how much we value all that you have done for us or how much we will miss you all. Be assured that you will all always be accepted as heroes and friends in the land of waves." Inari tried hard not to cry as he said, "Yeah, so you better visit soon, Naruto." Naruto tried hard not to cry as he said, "Don't worry, we'll be back and visit very soon, believe it." Team 7 turned around and went home after saying their goodbyes, and Tazuna spoke as they descended the bridge. "He was solely responsible, Inari. That boy strengthened you, and you strengthened us all in return. He made it possible for us to construct a bridge that led to a place we had never been to before, where we found courage and were able to realize our dreams. Speaking of the bridge, what do you think we should call it?" one of the villagers inquired. "Yes, without a doubt, and I am aware of its ideal name." All of the villagers enthusiastically applauded Tazuna's suggestion, which was to name it the Great Naruto Bridge in honor of the person who transformed our lives and our country's hero. When Kakashi put his hand on Sakura's shoulder as Team 7 was crossing the bridge, they all stopped. "Sasuke, Naruto, why don't you two go ahead? I need to talk with Sakura alone for a minute." Sasuke left without a second thought, but Naruto was hesitant to leave and only did so after Sakura smiled reassuringly at him. "Is something wrong, sensei?" In an attempt to be as unobtrusive as possible, she asked, and Kakashi turned to gaze at her with a fixed gaze. "Where did you learn the jutsu you employed on the bridge, Sakura?" Kakashi questioned. "I have never seen or heard of either of them before." Sakura thought to herself, "Crap. I knew this was coming. That's the reason I was avoiding being alone with him the last few days." Despite having prior knowledge of what had happened on the bridge, Sakura had acted impulsively and displayed some of her more advanced jutsu. She knew she had messed up and now had to deal with Kakashi trying to extract information from her. "I learned them from a scroll," she said discreetly. "Is that correct? Of course you wouldn't have it on you, would you?" "If I can, I'd like to see it," he said. She replied, "I'm sorry, but I left it back in the village." "Oh, However, where did you find it? He pushed. Sakura was technically telling the truth when she said, I found it in my family's belongings, so I thought I'd learn them since I had water affinity. However, she forgot to mention that the scroll was now in the house that would eventually become her family's home. I assumed you were from a civilian household, he asked. Where do you think they could have obtained that scroll? She hoped he would believe the lie when she said, my great-grandmother was married to a shinobi that fought during the First Great War, so I guess she got it from him. However, it was largely a lie because her great-grandmother never did marry the man. Well, maybe you can show it to me when we get back home, he replied. She replied, yeah, sure thing, sensei. Yeah, right, sensei. Good luck getting into the Namikaze vault to get the Uzumaki clan scrolls, she thought later. Naruto inherited everything his parents owned, including a sizable library of jutsu scrolls from the Namikaze and Uzumaki clans. Since Sakura shared a mother-side affinity for water, he allowed her to learn any jutsu she wanted, which significantly expanded his knowledge of water jutsu. As Sakura chatted away with Naruto, he thought, okay, then let's get to the others. They both rushed to catch up to them. There's no way that she's telling the truth, she's hiding something. I know it, Kakashi thought. I have to speak with the Hokage about this. There's something going on with her, and I plan to get to the bottom of it. I'll find what you're hiding. Sakura, Kakashi thought as the team continued to head home. Team 7 was instructed to go to the Hokage Tower shortly after they returned to the village hidden in the leaves, where Kakashi and his group were when he completed his mission report. The third Hokage remarked, I see, it seems like you had a challenging mission. Kakashi, I'm happy that everyone returned safely and that the mission was successful. For an A-rank mission, you will all receive mission pay. Yes, absolutely. That will buy me a lot of ramen, a jubilant Naruto exclaimed. All right, Naruto, calm down, take the remainder of the day off. Everyone, go now, and meet me tomorrow at our regular location at precisely 7 a.m., Kakashi said. Lord Hokage, there's something I would like to speak to you about, Kakashi said, turning to face the Hokage after the genin had left the room. Kakashi, what might that be? Is Naruto involved? The Hokage inquired. After giving it some thought, Kakashi realized that he had completely forgotten to inform the Hokage about Naruto's encounter with the fox. No, it's actually about Sakura Haruno, sir, he said, adding that he would tell him later. Great, I wonder what he wants to complain about this time. The Hokage moaned in his mind. Is the girl too intelligent for him, or what? The last time he complained, the Hokage thought the girl was a fangirl. Very well, Kakashi, what do you wish to talk about? I'm worried about the way she's been acting, sir. I have seen her as she and Naruto train together, and she shows knowledge that no genin should have, no matter how gifted they may be. Her training methods are of very high caliber, and her battle tactics are not those of a recently graduated genin. They are more like those of someone that has seen war and death. She slaughtered about 100 men and didn't even bat an eyelash. She acted like it was something she has been doing for years, and that concerns me. She's hiding something. I know it, he replied. Interesting. The third thought. Maybe we have another prodigy in our hands. You said she appears to have a gift for chakra control, and that she was interested in training as a medical ninja. Maybe she would be interested in some training with the medical corps, replied the third. If we could train her to be a kunoichi of Tsunade's caliber, it would be of great benefit for the village. Indeed, the Hokage was very attracted to the idea of a medic on par with Tsunade. That's not what I meant, sir. She is hiding secrets. I know it. I know over 1,000 jutsu, and not one of them could stop my lightning blade. Not completely anyway. Sakura's jutsu, a water jutsu, stopped it dead in its tracks, he replied. The Hokage took notice of this. Many people referred to the third Hokage as the professor or the god of shinobi. He was even more knowledgeable about jutsu than Kakashi, and he was aware that few people could defeat Kakashi's highly valued jutsu. Only one of the jutsus he was aware of, a water jutsu, had sufficient defensive strength to block the lightning blade, and even he was unable to use it. With a more solemn tone, the Hokage asked, did you happen to copy that jutsu? Unfortunately no, since she was out of my sight when she cast it. I was able to copy her second jutsu, replied Kakashi. The third asked, what are the names? You did catch those, didn't you? Yes, the jutsu I was able to copy is water style. Water shuriken jutsu. The one I couldn't copy was water style. Tidal shield jutsu, replied Kakashi as each jutsu was named. The Hokage's eyes widened. Kakashi saw the Hokage's face light up with recognition and surprise. Kakashi was asked, do you recognize the jutsu, Lord Hokage? The third took off his hat and used one hand to massage the side of his head. I do recognize them. They are both a rank water jutsu that she should have no way of knowing, replied the third as he considered what Kakashi had told him. He stopped massaging his head and folded his hands across his face. Now he understood Kakashi's suspicions about the girl. How could she possibly know those jutsu? Years have passed since the only person he knew who could ever use them died. The third asked. Where did she tell you that she learned these jutsu? She said she learned them from a scroll belonging to her family. Apparently her great-grandmother was married to a ninja during the First Great War and she got it from him. I was planning to ask her to let me see it, but I believe she's lying about it, replied Kakashi. Don't bother asking her more about it. I will look into her family background and see what I'm able to find out. For now, keep a close eye on her, but don't confront her about it. I want to make sure that we have as much information as possible before we question her about it. Hopefully it won't be anything we have to worry about. From what you told me, she and Naruto are getting close. I would hate to have to do something to separate the two of them, replied the third. With a slightly perverted tone of voice, Kakashi stated, yes, I haven't seen anything too compromising, but I believe that their relationship is something more than just friends and teammates. Very well, keep me informed. For now, go and get some rest. You deserve it after such a mission, replied the third person. Kakashi bowed and turned to go when the Hokage spoke to him once more. Kakashi, have you tried to perform the jutsu you copied from Sakura? Kakashi murmured. I tried to, but for some reason I was unable to use the jutsu. My Sharingan was able to copy the signs and the way to mold the chakra, but when I tried it was impossible for me to make it work. It has never happened before, so I don't know what to tell you, sir. I see. It's just like I thought. The reason you were unable to use the jutsu is because it requires an incredibly high affinity to water. The only person that I have ever seen that was able to use those jutsu, and only a handful of times, was my old sensei, the second Hokage. The second? But if they were the second Hokage's jutsu, shouldn't they have been known to the Leaf Village? I have never heard of them before. The reason for that is because they were not originally his jutsu or from his clan. He never told me where he learned them, only that they were not his to give to anyone. He told me this when I asked him to teach them to me. Besides, if you aren't able to do it, then he was right, and only someone with a high water affinity can perform them, so they are useless to most of our ninja. Kakashi bowed once more and vanished in a whirl of leaves, saying, I see. Well then, I will take my leave, sir. Without saying a word, Sasuke had departed. As soon as they had left the Hokage tower, Naruto was eager to eat ramen, so he and Sakura were traveling to Ichiraku's. An excited Naruto asked, Het Sakura, you want to go do something after we get some ramen? Sorry Naruto, but I promised Hinata that I would meet up with her when I got back so I could tell her all about our mission, she replied. Naruto whined, but I wanted to hang out with you today. Well, why don't you hang out with us today? I'm sure Hinata won't mind if you come. No thanks, I think I'll just go and work on my chakra control, he replied. Sakura was not informed by Naruto that he didn't want to go because Shino gave him the creeps and Kiba irritated him. He continued to pout, so she looked around to see if anyone else was observing them. Fine then, have it your way. I promise we'll do something together later, okay? She said. She leaned in and kissed him quickly on the lips when she noticed that no one was watching them. Naruto was startled by this. Before he passed out, it felt amazing to him each time they shared a kiss. Never in his life had he been so joyful. He loved his girlfriend, who loved him in return, and he had a team. He was only concerned about having to inform Sakura about the foolish fox. He knew he had to tell her right away because he was afraid she would hate and fear him if she found out. It was a miracle she didn't find out in Wave. He was terrified just thinking about that. It didn't make him feel any better. Even though he knew she had to know, he would tell her that he made a self-promise. At least he hoped she would stay with him because she loved him as he traveled to Ichiraku's. These were his thoughts. Sakura and Naruto parted ways after lunch, and she was now waiting for Team 8 to complete their practice at their regular training area. Great job everyone, that was an excellent practice. Keep this up and I'll see about getting you a C rank mission, stated Kurenai. But Kurenai-sensei, if Naruto's team can do a C rank mission, then we should be able to handle one no problem. After all, none of us are the dead last loser of the class like him, said Kiba with a smirk on his face. Sakura was really enraged by Kiba's remark. Hinata was also upset with her teammate, but she was able to conceal her emotions better than Sakura, who woke up with a furious expression on her face. She grinned because she knew he would fall for her ruse. I wouldn't talk about Naruto like that, Kiba. You have no idea of what he can really do. In fact, from what I have seen, you couldn't even beat me in a spar, much less beat Naruto, she said. Like Sakura believed, Kiba was completely duped. As if a girl could ever beat me in a spar, he replied. What was that, Kiba? Kurenai's cold voice requested. Hinata's expression was one of hurt, and Kiba turned to see his sensei glaring at him. Shino pushed up his sunglasses and remarked, it is illogical to think that gender alone can overcome skill, experience, and ability, Kiba. Well, Kiba, if you're so confident, then why don't we make a little bet? You and I have a spar. You win and I'll do anything you want. However, when I win you have to do anything I say. Deal? Sakura confidently responded. Are you serious? You think that a fangirl like you can beat me? Ha ha ha. Fine by me. When you lose you have to get Ino to go on a date with me. He replied. Everyone gave him suspicious looks because of that. Even Shino arched an eyebrow. His only response was, "What? I happen to like blondes, and Ino is hot." Even Sakura was surprised by that one and shook her head. "Fine, whatever, but when you lose I get to cut off all your hair." "Got it," she replied. His whine was, "What? Why?" Kiba disliked the thought of going bald and truly liked his hair. It was just wrong. It was like a dog without hair. "Because it will look ridiculous, that's why," she replied. She reasoned, "and it will serve you right for insulting my man." "Fine, whatever, it's not like I'm going to lose anyway," he replied. "Great, Kurenai-sensei, would you please proctor the match for us?" she said. "Okay, but this is just a spar, so if it gets out of hand I will put a stop." "It got it," Kurenai replied. She feared Sakura would suffer harm. Kakashi is known for being lazy, but she had no idea what he had been teaching his team. Strong and irritable, Kiba merely hoped the girl wouldn't be harmed. When the girl with the pink hair appeared and made friends with Hinata, Kurenai was concerned. The girl was obsessed with boys, or rather, a specific boy, according to what she had heard from Kiba and Shino. Kurenai was worried that she would negatively impact Hinata, who was already dealing with a lot of problems. Luckily, Hinata and Sakura had a very good friendship, so it had been for nothing. Hinata had been coming out of her shell more and was more at ease with the girl with the pink hair because of Sakura's support. Hinata increased her training and greatly enhanced her abilities. She only hoped that Hinata's recent success wouldn't be ruined by this spar. While Hinata, Shino, and Akamaru, whom Kiba claimed he didn't need to beat a fangirl, were standing close to a tree off to the side, Kiba and Sakura took their places on the field. Both fighters nodded in response to the question. "Okay, if both of you are ready, begin," Kurenai shouted. Sakura immediately adopted the traditional academy taijutsu stance, which caused Kiba to smirk and Kurenai to frown. When Kiba put his hands together and said, "Ninja art of beast mimicry, all fours jutsu," he became more feral as he went on all fours. His hair and teeth grew longer and sharper, and his nails grew long and became claws. Sakura was unimpressed because Naruto appeared much scarier when he was using the fox's chakra. "Huh, I knew she was all talk. I'm going to finish quickly. I can't wait to get my date with Ino," Kiba thought. Shino stated without emotion, "It seems like Kiba is aiming for the swift victory." Hinata thought, "I hope Sakura will be okay." Sakura simply smirked at Kiba, who snarled in response to the smirk before vanishing in a blur and resurfacing in front of Sakura as he delivered a forceful elbow to Sakura's sternum. Kiba grinned as he felt his attack connect, anticipating that Sakura would be sent flying and land unconscious, but it was only a log that was sent flying was Kiba's only thought before a fist struck his face, sending him flying across the field and into a world of pain. Kurenai thought, "I guess that the pervert has actually been teaching her something," as she executed a substitution jutsu without using hand signals and her timing was perfect. In excruciating pain, Kiba slowly stood up. "What the hell is she made of? I feel as though a sledgehammer just struck me. I feel bad for the child, Kiba, if this is how severely she strikes Naruto." When he eventually stood up, he saw Sakura standing a few feet ahead of him, her arms crossed in front of her chest in a manner reminiscent of Naruto. She never took her eyes off of her smile. He yelled at the still smiling Sakura, "What? You think that this match is over because you got one lucky shot? I was going easy on you, but now you're in for it," which caused her to burst out laughing. As her body turned into Sakura blossoms, she remarked, "Ha ha, this match is already over and you don't even know it. What the devil? What is this?" Kiba thought as the Sakura blossoms danced around him and a whirl of wind encircled him. Where had she disappeared to? He thought, "Wait, this is?" Sakura's voice came from everywhere. Kiba heard only, "It's over." Before everything went dark, Sakura stood over an unconscious Kiba, her hand still glowing green, as the genjutsu dispelled. Medical jutsu and high-level genjutsu. What exactly has this girl been learning from Kakashi? Kurenai thought. With a startling smile on her face, Sakura pulled out a kunai and said, "Well, guess I win, who?" As the other members of Team 8 stared at her in disbelief. "He looks like I get to give Kiba a haircut," she said. Sakura, you're not actually going to see cut it, are you?" Hinata responded. "He insulted my teammate Hinata. Besides, he could use this lesson not to underestimate your opponent. His attitude can get him and all of you killed in a mission if you're not careful," she stated. "Sakura is right, Hinata. Kiba needs to learn to control his emotions and to not be so reckless," stated Kurenai. As Sakura joyfully removed the majority of Kiba's hair, Hinata didn't seem particularly certain, but she didn't voice any complaints. Sakura and Hinata went to Hinata's favorite tea shop after cutting Kiba's hair while Akamaru whined the entire time while she was away. Hinata told Sakura about their missions, and Sakura informed Hinata about the mission to Wave. She told her most of it, but she was careful to keep some things private. That sounds exciting. I'm not sure that I would have done so well, Hinata replied. Hinata, you're a smart and strong kunoichi. I'm sure you would have done an amazing job. You only need to have more confidence in yourself and you will see just how amazing you really are, stated Sakura unconvinced. Hinata played with her fingers while looking down. I know, why don't train with me? With your Byakugan and chakra control I could teach you medical jutsu in no time, she replied. Hinata questioned, medical jutsu? How do you even know medical jutsu? Don't worry about it, we can meet at my team's training ground and I can start teaching you the basics, she replied. Sakura and Hinata headed to the training ground after Hinata grudgingly agreed to train with her. Naruto was training close to the hot springs as Sakura and Hinata made their way to the training area. He had been making great strides in his water walking training with a few of his clones when he was startled by loud laughter. Following the sound, Naruto saw an elderly man with long, spiky white hair peeking into the women's restroom. Perverts are undoubtedly the one thing Naruto detests the most, especially now that he has a cute girlfriend. For this reason, he created his anti-pervert jutsu, which he intended to use against this man. While the elderly pervert continued to peek and giggle like a girl while frantically writing on the small notepad he was carrying, Naruto skulked about. He was too preoccupied to notice Naruto behind him. It had been a wonderful day for Jiraiya. He chose to enter the Leaf Village covertly and visit the hot springs for some research, because he had been traveling nearby. After all, you could find some of the most stunning women anywhere in the Leaf Village. He hadn't noticed that someone was sneaking up behind him because he had been so engrossed in the amazing view. He heard someone shout, "Sexy jutsu," out of nowhere. Jiraiya looked around and saw a smoke cloud. The old pervert witnessed the most amazing sight he had ever seen as the smoke cleared. Well, since he had a glimpse of Tsunade, but that doesn't count because she nearly killed him for it. From Jiraiya's perspective, Kami herself had presented him with a gift. She was a pretty young blonde girl with adorable facial whisker marks and 2 long ponytails. To the annoyance of the pervert, her most private parts were only lightly covered by smoke clouds. She was the epitome of female perfection to Jiraiya, but he was only able to appreciate this divine sight for a few seconds before the mother of all nosebleeds blasted him back. When he heard a girly voice exclaim, "Oh no, there's a pervert peeking into the girl's bath." Jiraiya knew he had to leave, but his body was slow to react after losing so much blood. It took all of his willpower to stay conscious, and he barely managed it. He felt a huge killer intent on him when he eventually managed to sit up. He noticed that a group of angry women were all around him. Unfortunately for Jiraiya, they started drawing multiple weapons from unknown locations, giving the impression that some of them were ninja. The one with the enormous rack and purple hair in a spiky ponytail was particularly menacing because she wore a menacing grin while enjoying her kunai as his world erupted in pain and the women moved in for the kill. Jiraiya could only whimper. As he watched the women attack the elderly pervert like a pack of enraged wolves, Naruto could only smile. Naruto heard the sinister cries of agony emanating from the pervert as he walked away grinning. He thought, "Serves him right." Naruto returned to his training after letting go of the pervert's thoughts. He had no desire to complete pointless D-rank missions. He might be able to get a better mission if he complained. As Naruto concluded his training, those were his thoughts. When Kakashi eventually appeared the next morning, Team 7 headed to the Hokage Tower to ask for their next assignment. When they arrived, they were shocked to discover that the Hokage was not by himself. Hinata and Kurenai were also present, looking perplexed to see them. "Ah, Kakashi, I'm glad you're finally here," said the third. "I called all of you because earlier today we received word that a small village in the northwestern part of Fire Country was attacked by bandits. We are not sure, but they may have some ninja training, but it doesn't look like anything special. What we do know is that they burned the small village to the ground and killed nearly everyone in it. They did, however, take several prisoners. Almost all of the young women and young girls are missing. We believe they were taken to be sold as slaves. That means that they plan to head for the land of Earth since it's the closest country that permits it. With the prisoners they will have to travel slowly, especially if they want to travel in hiding. We cannot allow them to leave Fire Country. Your team should have enough time to intercept the group and rescue the people taken. Their safety is top priority, but don't let the ones responsible for this get away. We must show that this kind of thing will not be tolerated by the Leaf. So we are to hunt them down and rescue the prisoners and take out the bandits as well?" replied Kakashi. "Yes, I originally had intended to give this mission to Kurenai's team since her team is built for this type of missions. However, there were some unforeseen complications," the Hokage replied. The smirk on Sakura's face caught Kurenai's attention. Unfortunately, Shino had to leave yesterday for an emergency mission with his clan and Kiba is taking some time off to deal with a, shall we say, traumatic experience he had yesterday. Kakashi questioned, so my team is to deal with this mission then? Your team, yes. You on the other hand will go on a solo information gathering mission in regards to the discussion we had yesterday, replied the Hokage. Your genin will go with Kurenai and her student and will complete this mission. Although Kakashi was a little hesitant to leave his team without him, this was an opportunity to learn Sakura's secret. At least they would be in capable hands with Kurenai by their side. He said, very well, Lord Hokage. Great, Team 7 will be under Kurenai's command and will join her and Hinata on this mission. You all have 1 hour to get ready and meet in the front gates. Dismissed, replied the third. Where will I be going on my mission, sir? Kakashi asked the third after they had departed. I have looked into the Haruno family and it looks like they came from a small village in the far southern part of Fire Country. At least that's as far as we can figure. You are to go there and find out anything you can about them and where they came from. More importantly, find out anything you can about Sakura's great-grandmother. I want to know everything about her and her supposed husband, stated the Hokage. Sir, I get it, Kakashi said. Then he was gone. A whirl of leaves. The image of his former sensei caught the Hokage's attention. He and his sensei visited the towns where the Harunos seemed to originate during the war. The old Hokage could not for the life of him figure out how his sensei could have been involved, but something told him that all he could do was wait to see what Kakashi learned. The third then went back to his papers. Kurenai Yui waited for her tea to reach the designated meeting spot in a clearing far up in the northern section of Fire Country. To get to the attacked village, she and her group had to travel for 2 days at full ninja speed. When they arrived, they discovered it in ruins, with the majority of the buildings completely destroyed or burned down. They immediately pursued the bandit after spotting their tracks. Kurenai thought they were getting close to their targets after hours of tracking, but then the tracks they had been following abruptly vanished. Sasuke and Hinata had divided into 2 groups, while Sakura and Naruto went in one direction and she went alone. After a thorough search, she found nothing and wished the genin luck. She was even more motivated as a woman to rescue the abducted girls and young women. She was fully aware of the terrible consequences that would await them if the bandits managed to escape into Aerith country with them. She was determined to prevent that from happening and to hold the jerks accountable for stealing them. 4 people landed in the clearing in front of her, jolting her out of her reverie. I'm glad you all finally made it. I was beginning to worry. Now that we're all here, let's hear what we found out, Kurenai said, rising from the tree stump she was sitting on, and speaking to the genin. I'm interested to hear what you all found out. I myself was unable to find anything. The first to respond was Sakura, who was clearly upset about it. Naruto and I searched everywhere we could towards the east, but we couldn't find any trace of them, no tracks or any other signs of them, she said. Naruto appeared even more agitated because he was unable to locate anything despite calling forth 100 clones. Kurenai said, I see, that's unfortunate, before turning to face Sasuke and Hinata and asking, did you find anything? Well, unlike the loser, we were able to find something, replied Sasuke, with a faint smirk on his face. With the Hyuga's Byakugan we were able to find some hidden tracks, he said, glanced at Kurenai, and added, trails too well hidden for mere bandits. She questioned, what do you mean? The tracks were hidden under a genjutsu, one that could no be seen without my Sharingan or the Hyuga's Byakugan. Obviously it's not something that mere bandits can do, he stated. The Hokage said they appeared to have some ninja training, but he didn't believe it was anything to worry about. It's likely they have a genin or chunin that went rouge with them. If it was a ninja of higher caliber, the witnesses that escaped would have noticed him. She turned to Hinata and asked, how fresh did the tracks look, Hinata? They appeared to have been made recently. I would say less than a day ago, Hinata said, blushing as she started to play with her fingers. That's great. It means if we hurry we can catch them, replied Naruto. No, we have been going at full speed with little sleep or rest for 2 days. Maybe we could catch them, but it would be in the middle of the night if we are lucky, and we would be exhausted, Kurenai replied. But I can go for days. I'm not even close to being tired, laughed Naruto. She pressed, maybe you can, but we all need to rest. She knew that Naruto was going to continue to argue, so she cut him off. Look, Naruto, I know you want to help those people, but we need to be prepared. If we pressed on and we did reach them tonight, what do you think would happen if they were stronger than we think they are? Or if they have a larger force than what we believe them to have? We would be overwhelmed because we are too tired to fight, she said. Naruto's shoulders drooped, and he appeared defeated. Naruto didn't have to agree with her, even though he knew she was correct. Tell you what, since there are still a few hours of daylight left, we'll continue for a couple of hours, then set up camp. We'll continue to travel again first thing in the morning, okay? Kurenai said, glancing at him and deciding she could make a small concession to him. Naruto became alert instantly. Hinata and Sakura grinned at him as he behaved normally. He had been quite reserved and quiet. Sakura was aware that it indicated he was thinking about something. She gave him some space until he was ready to speak with her because she could tell it was important. Whatever it was, Hinata was concerned because she had never seen Naruto in that state. Happiness and self-assurance had always been Naruto's hallmarks. He always got up and did so with a smile on his face. Even in the face of difficulty, however, he has been depressed or angry about something for the past 2 days, though she wasn't sure how. Hinata wanted to assist him. Okay, the travel formation will be this: Sakura and Sasuke will take the front, I will take the center, and Hinata and Naruto will take the rear, stated Kurenai. They formed up quickly and started moving. They traveled far enough to avoid being caught in the event of an enemy ambush, but close enough to offer backup. Hinata noticed that Naruto continued to appear quite melancholy or even anxious as they traveled. Pulling herself together, Hinata said, and Naruto." Naruto turned to face the girl next to him, but he could hardly hear her soft voice. Even though Hinata could feel her face getting hot, she continued, saying, "Why, you seem like something is bothering. Why you? Are you okay?" Hinata swore at her own stutter with Sakura's assistance. She had improved and would hardly do it now, but she was unable to stop Naruto. Confounded, Naruto turned to face the girl with the blue hair next to him. She had inquired about his well-being, but should he tell her or simply respond that he is okay? He asked, "Hinata, may I ask you a question?" Because he truly needed to tell Sakura about the fox but was unsure how to proceed. "Well, I have something that I have to tell someone that's very important to me. What I have to say is not something that I chose or that I can change. It's something that makes me different, and I'm not sure what that person will think. Have you ever had someone that you wanted to tell something but were too afraid of what that person would say or think of you?" he asked, and Hinata gave him a little squeak before her face turned redder, but she nodded slightly. Hinata was trying to calm herself when she noticed a dry lump in her mouth. She was at a loss for words. She wanted to assist Naruto because she could tell he was worried about something. Whatever secret he was discussing, it mattered because she felt the same way about her feelings for him. She understood exactly how he felt. She feared that if she told him she loved him, he would reject her. "I think I know exactly how you feel," Hinata said, taking a deep breath to calm herself. "You see, I also have someone that I am very precious to, someone that I want to tell something important to, but I haven't been able to find the strength to tell them. I'm also afraid of what they might say or what they will think." Naruto believed it to be his feelings when he revealed his secret to Sakura. He was worried about her reaction. He was terrified of losing the happiness he had at last, so he didn't think he could do either. He couldn't return to that loneliness because he was afraid of it happening again. She attracted Naruto's attention by saying, "I hope that one day I will have the courage to tell my precious person my feelings. Because to me that person is worth the risk. Even if it would hurt to have that person reject me, how can I consider myself worthy to be accepted by him if I can't even tell him how I feel?" she replied. Naruto considered Hinata's words. She was correct. He didn't deserve to be with her if he was too scared to tell her. He needed to have faith in her feelings for him. He had to think she loved him as much as he loved her. "Thanks a lot, Hinata. I think I know what to do now," he said, turning to face her, and noticing her thoughtful expression he returned the little smile that the girl next to him had given him. Hinata was happy that she could assist Naruto. Although she was disappointed that she couldn't identify Naruto, she was at least able to relieve his discomfort. Even though it was only slight, Hinata felt as though she was getting closer to him. Before making camp for the night, the group traveled for a few more hours. Sakura had relieved Hinata and was now standing guard. She watched Naruto emerge from the boys' tent and approach her after a short while. She was relieved that he had recently been more like himself. Even though she could tell he was still anxious about something, she saw that he was acting more like his typical joyful self while they were working. As they traveled, she would turn to face him and see him laughing and talking excitedly to a blushing Hinata. Sakura was relieved that he was no longer depressed, even though she had no idea what had happened. "Hey Naruto, what are you doing up? You're not supposed to relieve me for 3 more hours, she replied. Sakura arched an eyebrow at Naruto's statement. "Well, I really couldn't sleep, so I thought I would keep you company." Naruto rubbed the back of his head unless he was thinking about something really important. Naruto never had any trouble falling asleep. He said, "I actually wanted to talk to you about something important," just as she was about to ask, "But I guess we can wait till later. I don't want anyone hearing what we talk about." For Sakura, this was a huge surprise. She pondered what he might want to discuss, but she knew it had to be something significant. A voice behind Naruto said, "Then maybe you should keep that loud mouth of yours shut, loser." It seems that neither of them saw Sasuke emerge from the tent after Naruto. Sakura said, "Sasuke? What are you doing up? Like I could sleep with Naruto tossing and turning on top of talking to himself," said he. Naruto retorted, "What? I don't do that. Yes you do, loser, and I'm not going to put up with it the whole mission, so whatever you two need to talk about, go and get it over with so you can let me sleep, he replied. Sakura remarked, but we can't just leave camp and I'm on watch. Whatever, I'll take over your shift and you and the moron can go talk somewhere and come right back, it's not like it's a big deal, he replied. Sakura, I found a small lake a few miles from here when I went out to find some water. We could go there and talk and be back in time for me to take over for him, said Naruto. When she picked up her pack, she said, okay, I guess that should be okay, let's go. Naruto turned to face Sasuke as they were leaving the camp. Thanks a lot, Sasuke. Sasuke gave a grunt that sounded like, whatever, and then resumed his watchkeeping duties. Naruto and Sakura reached the place he mentioned after traveling in silence. It was a waterfall that supplied water to a small lake. For the first time in his life, Naruto felt more anxious and afraid. Uncertain if he would actually be able to do it, he walked to the water's edge. However, he recalled his conversation with Hinata, and her words gave him the determination to follow through. Sakura was staring at him with intense interest when he turned around. She could not think of what this could be about, but she could see how serious he was. She thought about everything she knew that had occurred around this time, but she was unable to come up with anything that could have caused him to become so agitated. She noticed that he turned around and gave her a deterrent look. Sakura, there's something I need to tell you, something important, he stated. Okay, so what do you need to tell me, Naruto? She replied. It's about me. There's something about me. I have to tell you something that might make you afraid of me or even hate me, but it's something you need to know if we're going to be together, he replied. Before she noticed him put a hand on his stomach, Sakura's thoughts were racing about what he might be discussing. Then it struck her like a lightning strike. The fox, to Sakura, it had been as much a part of him as his blue eyes or blonde hair, so she hadn't given it any thought. It was simply an aspect of him that had always existed. The fox was as common to her as it was to Naruto because she had spent so much time with him. It wasn't until now that she realized it wasn't he was worried about what she would think, which is why he had been so upset. I was born on the day the nine-tailed fox attacked our village. That is no big secret, but there is a secret that no one in our generation knows about. The third Hokage made a law that said that anyone who spoke about it would be considered a traitor and be put to death. Playing along, she said, then maybe you shouldn't tell me or you could get in trouble. Sakura nodded slightly, and Naruto continued. The fox was said to have been killed by the fourth Hokage, which was a lie fabricated to keep this secret from our generation. The fox was too powerful to have been killed. Naruto shook his head and stated, I'm the only one allowed to speak about it because the secret is about me and the nine-tailed fox. In an attempt to assist him, she inquired, if the fox wasn't killed, then what happened to it? Naruto took a deep breath before he continued, because the fourth could not kill it, he did the only other thing he could do. He sealed it, but because it was so powerful it couldn't be sealed in just anything, it had to be sealed in a living being. Only a newborn baby could be used as the container of the fox. And I was the only one born that day. I hold the nine-tailed fox inside of me, he stated. Naruto shut his eyes and awaited Sakura's answer. He was terrified to look into her eyes because he always saw the same fear and hateful, disgusted expression in the villagers' eyes. Fear took hold of his heart as he waited for what seemed like an eternity. Then Naruto sensed two slender arms encircling him. When he opened his eyes, he saw Sakura hugging him tightly. He could truly feel the love she was trying so hard to express to him, and it made his eyes water. Thank you, Naruto, thank you for trusting me with your secret. I want you to know that this doesn't matter to me. You will always be the same Naruto to me. My Naruto, the goofball that I fell in love with, she replied. She let go just enough for him to meet her gaze. Naruto gave her dazzling emerald eyes a look. Naruto adored her eyes because he had witnessed a wide range of emotions there. He had gone from intense anger to amazing joy, but nothing compared to what he was seeing now. All he witnessed was love, unconditional love. Never in his life had Naruto been happier. Even after learning about the fox, Sakura continued to love him. Unable to resist, he pressed her against him and put his arms around her tiny waist. He leaned in and pressed his lips to Sakura's as she put her arms around his neck. They had never experienced a kiss like that. They gave it their all during the kiss, which was a true expression of their love for one another. Holding each other while they gazed at the moon's reflection on the water, they had remained in that clearing. Neither of them wanted it to end because it was so perfect. Sakura sensed his tension just as she was about to tell him that they should really be going back. She questioned, "What's wrong, Naruto?" "Sakura, do you smell something burning?" asked he. Confused, she said, "No, I don't smell anything. Why?" Naruto rose from the seat they were occupying and turned to face the camp. It was clear that there was smoke and light coming from the trees where the camp would be because it was the middle of the night. "Damn it. "Sakura, something is wrong, we have to get back now," he shouted. Sakura just nodded without bothering to ask, and they both started moving quickly in the direction of the camp at that speed. They arrived in just a few minutes, and they were astounded by what they saw. The camp had been ruined, there were signs of battle everywhere, and several trees were burning. The fact that they couldn't see anyone anywhere, however, was what worried them the most. Naruto created dozens of shadow clones and instructed them to find the team by looking around. It was quickly discovered that Sasuke was seated against one of the trees. He was seriously hurt and unconscious. Sakura started using healing jutsu to assist him. "He's in bad shape, his right arm is broken and has several cracked ribs. I stopped the internal bleeding, but he will need some time before he can move. I can heal his bones, but he won't be in any shape to fight for a while." She turned to look at Naruto and inquired, "Have you found Hinata or Kurenai-sensei yet?" Naruto shook his head. "I haven't found them, but I think I found the trail of where the ones who did this went. They didn't bother to cover up their tracks. Looks like there was only one or two of them. I'm sure of it," he stated. "But there's no way that," he said, but a horse's voice interrupted. "There were only two of them. They took Kurenai-sensei and Hinata," said he. Both of them turned to see Sasuke awake. Naruto screamed, "What the hell happened and who took them?" "I don't know who they were. They were two ninjas. They were wearing headbands from the Hidden Stone Village but had the same crossed out. They looked like twins and had this strange jutsu. Kurenai-sensei took on one and we took the other. The Hyuga's attacks were useless and my jutsu didn't even scratch him. I threw everything I had at the bastard, but his jutsu turned his skin into some kind of armor. My Sharingan couldn't even copy it," he said with rage. Sakura remarked, "I believe I know who they are." She was leafing through a book when Naruto and Sasuke turned to look at her. A bewildered Naruto questioned, "What is that, Sakura?" Without raising her eyes, she stated, "It's a bingo book, Naruto." With his confusion still intact, he inquired, "How did you get a bingo book?" She showed them the picture from the book and said, "We are Ninja Naruto, so we can buy any ninja-related items from the ninja stores in the village. I got one because it doesn't hurt to have one on us. I found them." "Is this who attacked you?" The twins in the book were in their early 30s except for a long braided ponytail that hung down to their lower backs. They were both bald. They appeared to be dressed in a typical Jonin uniform for the secret stone village. They were wearing different clothes and looked older. "But yeah, that's them all right," replied Sasuke. Sakura looked at the book and started reading the information on them. Their names are Ichiro and Jiro Ishikawa. They're B-ranked missing ninja from the Hidden Stone Village. They are known as the twin golems of the Hidden Stone. They have rare blood limit that can make their skin as strong as granite. It protects them from most ninjutsu and taijutsu attacks. The Ishikawa clan is only weak against genjutsu, but unlike most of the clan, the twins studied under some of the Stone Village's genjutsu masters to overcome that weakness. It says they left the village a few years ago for some unknown reasons," she continued. "So what do we do now?" "I can't fight with this bad arm," Sasuke replied. "We have to go after them even at a slow pace. They would cross the border within 2 days. We can't wait for backup," stated Sakura. Naruto yelled, "So let's go after them." Sakura stopped Sasuke as he started to stand up. "No, Sasuke, you're in no condition to fight. I'll leave a shadow clone to work on your injuries, but you have to stay here. If we fail, you have to be able to send word to the village of what happened," she replied. Despite his dislike, Sasuke grudgingly accepted her plan. Sakura took a soldier pill she had made after creating the clone, and they fled in pursuit of the abductors. All they could do was hope they could still save their friend and her sensei. Following the kidnappers' trail at full speed wasn't too difficult for Naruto and Sakura because the criminals hadn't bothered to hide their tracks after the fight. "Sakura, the clone I sent to scout ahead just dispelled itself. The camp is not too far ahead." Naruto and Sakura slowed down and moved stealthily in the direction of the camp once they were close. With only a few tents and fires, the camp itself wasn't particularly attractive. The camp was surrounded by 20 to 30 bandits. All of them were gambling, eating, and/or drinking at the edge of the camp. Near what appeared to be the leader's tent, the women were all huddled together while some of the older girls attempted to console them. Many of the younger ones were crying in private. Fortunately, none of them appeared hurt. "I don't see either of them, do you?" Sakura whispered anxiously. "No, but my clone saw them get taken inside the large tent next to all the women," replied Naruto. "Okay then, to get them we have to take out the bandits first. We have to do it quickly. If we are going to have a chance, we can't fight bandits and the ninja at the same time," she replied, having already created a strategy. "So we go in and knock out the bandits quickly and then go rescue." Regarding the "No," she muttered, grabbing his attention with a snap. Naruto looked in her direction. Her emerald green eyes were intense. He noticed, "But you just said." "I said we take them out, and I meant permanently." "You mean kill them?" "But I can't, I have never." "Naruto." We are outnumbered and outclassed, we can't go in there half-heartedly. I know that, but I don't know if I can, he replied. Sakura saw him cast a sorrowful glance down. She found it difficult to see him in this state. When an enemy threatened the people he cared about, the Naruto she knew would not think twice about eliminating them. It was necessary for her to remind herself that Naruto was still a 12-year-old genin who had never been made to kill a human. She was aware that dealing with the first kill was the most difficult. It was worse for Naruto because he harbored a bloodthirsty demon. He was very concerned because of that. He would almost welcome the fact that he would feel guilty for taking a life, not because he was afraid of it. The fact that he would feel nothing for taking a life, or worse, that he would enjoy it, was what truly frightened him. That he would adore killing and turning into his inner monster. She said in a sympathetic tone, "Naruto, I know it's not easy, and I know you don't want to believe me. I don't enjoy killing others either." Naruto raised his head to meet her eyes. He watched as the expression changed from one of pity to one of steely resolve. He shuddered when she spoke again because of the coldness in her voice. "But the bastards out there are not people. They're the monsters. Not as they came into our country and attacked one of our villages. The people in that village never hurt them, never hurt anyone. They were living their lives in peace until those monsters came. You saw what they did to that village. Look at those poor girls over there," she said while addressing the group of frightened women. Naruto was powerless to stop himself. For the first time he really looked, he could see the anguish, fear, and sadness in their eyes like the point of a kunai. The helplessness he witnessed there twisted in his heart. It was the expression he frequently wore as a kid, since he didn't know why he was despised by everyone. Even though he concealed the expression from everyone, he recalled how he felt. Those women had to watch as those beasts burned down their homes. As they killed their families, they had to see their fathers, brothers, and husbands killed before their eyes. Then they were dragged from their home in chains like animals. And all for what? All that pain and suffering happened just to satisfy those monsters' greed. Before she finally asked, Sakura attempted to slow her fast breathing. "Do I need to tell you what will happen to them if we don't help them escape?" Naruto heard her say it in a low whisper. She didn't have to explain to Naruto what would happen to those women. While Naruto may lack knowledge in many areas, this was not one of them. He was aware of the perverse nature of men. That was one of the reasons he detested perverts so much. Sakura was able to observe Naruto's internal conflict. Even though she detested playing with his emotions, she knew what she had to do. They're going to sell them like pieces of meat. They will live a life of slavery. And now they have taken Kurenai's sensei and Hinata too. They plan on doing that to them as well. Kurenai's sensei had been kind to Naruto, and that seemed to capture his whole attention. She didn't ignore him the way Kakashi occasionally did. Unlike the academy teachers, she did not scream at him. He had also been treated very well by Hinata. He knew that Hinata had never been cruel to him, even though he had never really spoken to her in the academy. She never put him down or laughed at him. Hinata never scowled at him for passing by or called him dumb. No, Naruto believed that Hinata lacked the capacity to be cruel to anyone. In fact, she had no mean bone in her body. Hinata had given him the courage to tell Sakura about the demon fox. Despite the fact that they had never really spoken before this mission, perhaps the sweetest girl Naruto had ever encountered was Hinata. His stomach turned at the thought of what would happen to her if these people managed to escape. Sakura saw Naruto's hands ball into white-knuckled fists and clench his teeth. He needed one last shove to realize how serious the situation was. With a somber tone, she questioned, "What would you do if it was me that had been taken?" It was the only way, but she felt guilty about controlling him in this way. Sakura's eyes caught Naruto's attention as his head snapped up as Naruto struggled to control his mounting anger. His eyes wavered between blue and red. He responds to her in the voice she has heard countless times after they have calmed down, and he has red eyes like a cat. He growls at her, saying, "I'd tear them apart." Sakura gave a head nod. "That's what we'll do. We'll make them regret ever setting foot in that village, and we will make sure that they never hurt anyone ever again. This is what I have planned, so listen up, okay?" The unconscious Kurenai and Hinata were now both in chains in the leader's tent, and their captors were already debating their future. "I can't believe how lucky we are. Not only did the Leaf send a weak genin team, but they were stupid enough to send an unmarked Hyuga as well," Ichiro said. Like his brother, Ichiro, the older twin, was a huge man who stood more than 6 feet tall. He had a small deep green vest over his shirtless chest and was dressed in dark brown ninja pants. The only distinction between his brother's outfit and his own was a gray sash around his waist. Jiro, a little irritated by his brother's reckless behavior, questioned, "What's so special about that little girl? She was pathetic and weak. The other brat was more of a challenge than this one, and why didn't we look for the other one? What if he sends word to the Leaf? It won't matter because we'll be long gone before they can get here. And, my dear brother, what is so special about this girl is not how strong she is, but the powerful bloodline she carries. Her eyes are so valuable that the Cloud Village risked going to war against the Leaf over it. Incredulous, Jiro shook his head. Why would they care for such a useless bloodline? It wasn't any use against ours, was it? He grumbled. Ichiro stated, with obvious greed, it doesn't matter to me as long as we get paid, and the money we'll get for her alone is many times what we'll get for all the rest put together. He asked his brother, and what do we do with the woman? Do we chain her up with the rest of the others? Ichiro turned to Kurenai, his expression a little disappointed. No, we can't, no matter how weak she may be. She is still a Jonin. The moment we hand her over to the slave market, she will escape. If she makes it to her village, it would bring us a lot of problems with the leaf. Unlike the stone that placed a pathetic rank and bounty on us, the one the leaf would place would have us dealing with too many hunter ninjas to be able to make any money. So what then? We could have just killed her in the camp and been done with it. It's a real shame a woman that good looking would have sold for a lot at the market. Just give her to the men and let them have their fun with her before we kill her. They have been restless since we haven't let them touch any of the women from the village. This one should make them happy. For a while anyway, Ichiro replied. Jiro gave his brother a nod. The fools would damage them too much and we wouldn't get paid much for them. If they want one that bad, they can always use the part of their cut to buy one in the market. The camp was rocked by a series of explosions as he went to pick up Kurenai. Then there was a clamor of women screaming and men shouting and yelling. When the twins hurried outside, they were astounded by what they saw. The whole camp was filled with orange blurs. They were only able to watch in mild shock as the blurs came and went, leaving behind nothing but the bandits who were either dead or dying. When Ichiro jolted out of it, he turned to see that all of the women had vanished, leaving behind only the corpses of the men who had been watching over them. He turned back to the camp and screamed, "Damn it," while already flashing through hand signals. Earth style. Earth avalanche jutsu, he yelled as he stomped his foot on the ground. When his foot connected a wave of dirt and small stones, some fallen branches amongst them, rose up in front of him and shot forward, tearing everything in its way apart. When the jutsu finished, there was nothing left of the camp. It was just another area of freshly churned soil. Ichiro turned to his brother. I'm taking the Hyuga, and leaving without waiting for a response, he turned and hurried inside the tent, emerging a few moments later with Hinata slumped over his shoulders. I'm leaving, he said, turning to face the forest. Take care of anyone left and meet me at the border.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.